force behind some of India's most respected business empires. But you've rarely heard them speak. Now, for the first time, these leaders open up on succession, conflict, governance, and inheritance. Join me as we step inside boardrooms and living rooms of India's most enduring family businesses for real stories, raw conversation, resilient legacies, building legacy.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
They're the force behind some of India's most respected business empires. But you've rarely heard them speak. Now, for the first time, these leaders open up on succession, conflict, governance, and inheritance. Join me as we step inside boardrooms and living rooms of India's most enduring family businesses for real stories, raw conversation, resilient legacies, building legacy.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Welcome, you're watching India Market Close here at NDTV Profit. I'm Mahima Vachharjani. With me is Neeraj Shah and Harsh Saita. Let's take a quick look as to how the markets are doing. Of course, off from its day's high point, but the Nifty 50 trading around 0.3% higher, the Bank Nifty trading around 0.1% higher. So largely flat. The Nifty is actually testing that 25,000 levels and trying to reach there, but it seems unlikely that it will touch that 25,000 mark again today here. Let's take a quick look as to how the Nifty heat map is looking like right now and see what counters are doing in trade today. Tata Motors leading the pack up 3.4%, followed by Bajaj Auto, Hero Moto. So again, it's the auto pack that is seeing gains about second day in a row today. There's also Reliance which is up 2.5%, followed by Adani Ports, Adani Enterprises doing well in trade today, up 2%. Kotak Mahindra, Tech Mahindra up both 1.4% and Eternal also seeing gains of about 1.4%. But something that's not doing well, Bajaj Finserv down by about 1.2%. There's Grasim which is down by about 1.1%. Dr. Reddy's down 1%. BEL, Power Grid, some counters seeing downtick of about 1% each. Let's also try to see the sectoral heat map and see how sectors are doing. And there you go, Nifty Oil and Gas up 1.4%, followed by Nifty Auto. Seeing gains of about 1.3%. Then there's Nifty Media, Nifty FMCG also seeing gains of about 0.8%. But something that's not doing well clearly today is the Nifty Defense, which is down by about 1.2%. Nifty Pharma also down by about 0.3 odd percent, and Nifty Finance also down by about 1.1 odd percent. Let's try to pull up the advanced decline ratio, because that will give us a picture as to how the broader markets are looking like, and we'll get in Harsh also to tell us as to how mid cap 150 and small cap 250 is doing. But Harsh, the advanced decline ratio still skewed towards the buyers, 1500 odd advances versus 745 decline. So that ratio is still 2:1.
Very healthy, in fact. When you're looking at the way the Nifty is tilted, the Nifty 50 constituents, let's pull up the heat map over there once again and just compare it with the way in which you're seeing the breadth on the broader markets. You're seeing good strength. Let's pull up the Nifty mid cap, and that's showing some bit of resilience, some bit of outperformance. So is the Nifty small cap. 0.5% higher on both of those. Some big movers. Let's pull up the BSE 500 top gainers, top losers. And those are, of course, some big ones. HLE Glasgow from the even from the low of the day has seen a stupendous move, 20% higher, currently locked in upper circuit. Jamna Auto is absolutely flat. Again, it's one of those stories where you're seeing an excellent move intraday on some of these names, Jamna Auto, Divyani as well, among others. In terms of the losers, both those holding companies, Bajaj and Chola, sitting in the red, and from the high of the day, again, we've seen nearly a 5% fall on both of those. We'll discuss some of these names, of course, but let me bring in Kush right off the bat to give us a perspective on both the Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank. Kush.
Hi, Harsh. First,
Hi,
a very
good
good afternoon to you and to all the viewers. I think the 50 DMA level of 25, is acting up as a bit of a resistance. Yesterday, also the high was close to that mark. Today, also, if you see, the Nifty has retraced from that mark. I think the global news has done the heavy lifting. I think it's perhaps some figure from the international side that if that does come about, then you could see the Nifty not only perhaps cross this, but surge past this. And the next level that I'm looking at on Nifty is 25 to 25, so about 200 to 50 points higher from here as well. The bias remains positive. Mild bit of caution is that the PCR is already at 1.2, and you're about a couple of days from the weekly expiry. So maybe some consolidation, a mild pullback. In fact, it could be healthy and give you a better risk reward ratio for a long position. So yes, on the whole, the view on Nifty remains positive. As far as Bank Nifty goes, I think there is some sluggishness, and it's very apparent. Yesterday also it retraced from the 56,000, 56,150 mark. Today also, if you see, despite the kind of flattish but greenish move in the green, it's not able to take out the previous day high, nor is it able to take out the 20-day moving average. While the bias here also remains positive, I wouldn't suggest creating a long position. It's more of a hold. So if you have a long position on Bank Nifty, you could hold. Nifty, as I said, you could create some positions now, perhaps even on pullback. So yes, all in all, it looks constructive. Nifty preferred over Bank Nifty even now.
How quickly are you expecting this move to 25,200, 25,250? That's the kind of number you're looking at. How quickly do you expect the Nifty to get there? Just trying to understand the swiftness or the possibility of that, of the move that you're expecting.
So, Harsh, one, it is largely dependent on some more news flow. Now, that remains to be seen. When does it come about? It could be anything from the Russia-Ukraine settlement, or maybe some more positive developments on the domestic front. But it looks like perhaps this expiry, the weekly expiry that we're looking at in the next couple of days, we could be in this band and then perhaps move to a range, which is higher than where we are now, so 25,000 plus levels. So maybe up until this expiry, we might just hold up, and after that, you could see this, up move. But for that, Nifty has to cross above 25,000, in fact, 25 if I'm being a little more accurate from technical standpoint. So give it a couple of days at least. Maybe this weekly expiry might just pass.
What about your top picks for the day, Kush?
Hi, Mahima. Going with both the long calls. In fact, one of them is an update. Yesterday, we had a long call on Eicher Motors. Did rather well. The first target of 5,900 comfortably achieved. Even 6,000 was crossed yesterday. Today also, as you mentioned, the auto pack is doing well. The stock is holding up ground and gaining some more. So yes, it's a continuation on Eicher Motors. The second target of 6,051 also intact, and even for levels of 6,200, you could continue to hold on to this one. And now trail your stop losses to the initiation price close to 5,800 mark. The second one is Asian Paints. The stocks actually had a very interesting run. Now I know this is not a trader favorite counter per se, but with the kind of momentum that it's building and the accumulation that it's seen, I think happier days are ahead for Asian Paint investors and traders. for now for targets of 2650, 2720 with stop loss around the 2500 mark. Asian Paints remains a long.
Yeah, okay, some flashes on your screen, Kush, before I go to the next question. India's robust growth has constructive impact on credit metrics is what S&P's rationale for the upgrade is, and there are various factors over the past decade which has led to this upgrade is what they're saying. So they're not calling this something which is near term or maybe over the last year or two. They're talking about the big picture. They're saying that the last decade is what they have analyzed and built in while they've upgraded their ratings. Of course, that was the big upgrade which came through as well. Kush, the auto pack, that's the one pack which is really standing out. Couple of days it has stood out. We have spoken about the likelihood of this being deeply oversold as a sector as a whole. How much of this move is sustainable and possible further gains? Top picks.
So it looks like this is sustainable. A couple of stocks where I would suggest some caution or even some profit booking for that matter would be TVS Motor and Maruti. Two broadly the same segment but two different sub-segments. Maruti, with the kind of stellar gains that it made yesterday and continuation today, has gone into overheated territories. While this is a very clear breakout and the up moves might sustain, I think some profit booking is par for the course if you had held it on for some time. A re-entry near the 13,700, 13,600 mark is warranted. So yes, this change could well sustain, but on profit booking, similar on TVS Motor, the stock was anyway doing well yesterday, and today's up move puts it in overheated territory. So maybe some taking some money off the table makes sense. Now, if you want to still invest or trade in this sector, I think Eicher Motor, the stock that we just discussed, still makes a lot of sense. Still some distance away from the overheated territories, and a perennial all-time favorite, Mahindra & Mahindra. It's already seeing some profit booking. I think if it dips, even further closer to the 3,300 mark, 3,320 mark, it will make a very it'll make a very exciting entry point. So Mahindra & Mahindra and Eicher Motor, still a good bet. Take some money off the table on Maruti and TVS Motor and re-enter at lower levels.
Kush, one counter in the auto space that's really, taking strides today is Jamna Auto, though a 4,000 crore market cap company, but seeing gains of what 13% and no fundamental trigger as such. Any particular reason as to how that chart is looking in terms of where Jamna Auto stands and what is the support and resistance that you're seeing?
This could well be the case of rising tide lifting all boats, right? The entire sector is doing well. Why should the auto anchs not participate as much? I think more of that. The stock was consolidating. Honestly, there wasn't too much of a trigger as well in this, apart from the fact that it was holding ground around the 200-day moving average. If I had a position, I would actually look to offload and exit, or even book partially, because this 105 to 108 kind of zone is a medium-term supply zone, medium-term resistance zone for the stock. So immediately the resistance is at 108. If I book profits and if I look at a re-entry mark, I think 99, 90, those levels, those zones would be an interesting level to re-enter if you wanted to, book now and perhaps consider a re-entry.
Just Harsh was mentioning about the rationale for S&P upgrading India. There are more flashes coming in. S&P is saying that the Indian government debt burden to remain high in coming years. But what they're saying is that India's interest service burden remains onerous. And what they're saying is that they expect India's interest service burden to gradually decline. And that is one of the reasons as to why they've upgraded India. Those flashes are coming on your screen right now, as you can see. Kush, with regards to some other counters that are doing well in trade today, actually Glasscoat is one of them. Anything that you're picking up on the charts?
No, I think this is a good idea to perhaps take some money off the table, locked in upper circuit. So you might want to perhaps give it one more day, but I would suggest booking at least partially 25%, if not more, and then holding on to the rest because it's locked in upper circuit. You never know, it might hit some more higher levels tomorrow. But I think this is where you start to take some money off the table. This has also gone through a longish consolidation phase of about 3.5 months, and then the breakouts coming about. So yes, now is a good time to start taking money off the table. If I can, just quick 20 seconds on a stock, GPIL, Godavari Power. The reason I mentioned that is because we had discussed this stock twice in the last week. First target 205, second target 212. In fact, the stock did so well that they even came and shared an update on this with a third target of 219. The high that it's made today, is just about 219. It's just crossed that. So yes, if you have a position, I think it's a good idea to book 50% and hold the rest with a trailing stop loss at 212. The reason being that today also, despite the kind of up move that it's had today and in the last 5 sessions, the volumes seem to be picking up, suggesting there could be some more upside.
Okay, stay on Kush. Lots more to talk about, as Mahima spoke about that upgrade as well. And this is the most important line, right, on your flash, on your screen, that various factors that have been done over the last decade have led to this upgrade. It's not a one-off, and which is why I think Pankaj Tibrewal in the morning was talking about this, guys, that this is not because this has happened, I think the country has the flexibility to go out and do some leeway on the fisc in order to stimulate the economy, because this upgrade that has happened doesn't get changed just because the next 6 quarters India might spend a bit more in order to revive or do more on the economy, let's put it that way. So keep that in mind. What might hamper the economy though is this periodic bursts of rainfall, right? Not really, but at least Mumbai, where we are right now, heavy rains have led to some serious waterlogging in Mumbai. Local trains, flights, etc. are disrupted. There are disruptions. NDTV Profit is bringing you a live ground report, or in fact live ground reports through the day, speaking to people and understanding the on-ground situation. My colleague Anuj joins us live. Anuj.
I'm standing here in Kurla, and I'll just let you watch what the visuals look like here, because you can very clearly see that the water here has not receded even by a bit in the last few hours. Why does this particular place and the waterlogging here become so important? Well, it's for you to see. You see so many people use this road to travel either for their work or for their daily life purposes. There are so many vehicles here which have broken down. People are coming off their vehicles and are choosing to walk instead. One can see that the level at which the water is there is pretty much above one's knees. There are people who are traveling for their work or for other purposes, and because the waterlogging here is so intense that it is not just difficult but clearly impossible for certain vehicles to move. As you can very clearly see on your screen, that is the best bus, right? The bus has been stranded here for last half an hour, and it's been here unable to move because there's clearly no way where it can go ahead, and the machinery has also broken down. In fact, that is not the only bus which is broken down here, but on the other side of the road as well, you can see another BST bus with no, it's a stranded bus with no residents inside it, just the driver and the conductor. There is an open gutter is what the residents of Kurla tell us, and they are also here to help people guide them, because unlike what was the situation in other places where there were BMC employees and workers present, there are none of them present here, and there are a few open gutters which make it a very dangerous kind of a situation, because one doesn't really know where the gutter is, because it's tough to make out which is the footpath and which is the road. And of course there are a few gutters, as we have been pointing it out since morning, which are open, and that makes this entire situation, as I said earlier, far more dangerous. Now, looking at the traffic, right, this is the lower lying area of Kurla. On my left hand side, of course, one can see vehicles which are finding it, as I said earlier, impossible to cross through this entire region. And on the other side as well, that is the road that goes to the BKC. That is like one of the most premium commercial and corporate hubs of the city. And right in between, there is this immense amount of waterlogging which has not just slowed down the traffic, but has completely shunned it off.
Well, it's tough times for a lot of pockets. Hopefully this will get resolved soon. And viewers, while this is in Mumbai, we hope that wherever you are in the country, rains are nowhere as bad as they are in Mumbai currently. I mean, rains are welcome. Such heavy rains sometimes disrupt. Okay, is the market out of the disruption zone? I think that's the question that we posed to Anu Jain. She's president at 361 Wealth, joins in right now with her thoughts. Anu, great having you. As always, thanks for taking the time out. And I wonder, Anu, if to your mind, what's happened over the weekend, since Thursday afternoon, and then the PM announcements and then subsequent meetings and that takeaways from the global pieces as well, have they changed the tone and texture of the market? It was a market that was in a slide downwards. Has that changed, and is this now a market which, if not a buy at current levels, remains a buy on dips?
Well, yes, I mean, the flavor with which you closed on Thursday looked like you were going to have a gap down on Monday. Had the PM not announced what he did on 15th, we would probably have opened another 150 points down. Given that also, if you look at the way market cruised yesterday to 25,000 plus, but couldn't stay there, and then kind of receded back from there, then fought back. I think we're still going through that resistance. But what I'm seeing is that a lot of people who want exit at about 25,000, whether it is people who are, international FIs, whether it's anybody else, it's giving them an exit. When the market gives people an exit, I think that's a very positive sign for the medium term. It may not be in the next week or 2 weeks that you may see a huge breakout, but I think the setup of consolidation is definitely happening for the next 8 to 10% to happen. It's a matter of time. Given what GST has kind of done, or what's expected out of it, I think maybe you may have some consumption which may get delayed by a quarter, but market will kind of discount it a quarter in advance because that's what the market does. So I think personally, as you're saying that maybe it's a buy on dips, I don't know how much dips are now left. Maybe it's just going to consolidate in this level. And I expect the Bank Nifty to kind of take the lead. And once you see that moving out of that 26,000, 56,000 zone, probably the action on Nifty also would be there because we know that 25,000 to 25,300, those 300 points are all resistance. Now, whether we take a week to consolidate and cross that or a month, it's in anybody's hands. But overall, I think, yes, the worst is over.
That's interesting. Anu, that's coming from you, that's really, really heartening. Now, I heard you say that you don't know when does the next 8 to 10% upside come. It's difficult to time it correctly, but you reckon it happens before Diwali?
Honestly, nobody can predict that, but it seems that I would be ready to take that call technically once it moves over 25,300. But I think I would rather just buy and sit rather than try to time it to that perfection. We think that banking financial seems to be the best place to play that. As I said, the Bank Nifty looks the most poised for it, NBFCs. So rather than try and time it that perfectly, I would just start accumulating, maybe not in one go, but over a period of time. And if there is a breakout, then you can, do a lumpier investment at that time.
Right. Anu, this is Harsh here. Trying to make this conversation more broader. We've seen some traction in auto. What was it looking like prior to the action that we've seen, and what's the expectation going forward?
So if you're making it broader, I'll make it even more broader. The fact remains that consumption has been on a weak note for quite some time. Be it staples, we've seen, in fact, autos were one of the places which was not so badly hit. And given what we are seeing in the IT sector and what we're expecting in the IT sector, unless there's a turnaround there, be it real estate, be it auto, be it luxury goods, everything would take a hit. Now, while we've been negative in the side of the NDPMS we manage, on consumption from quite some time, on IT for some more time, we were really getting skeptical on autos and real estate as well. Given this boost to consumption, I think there is some comfort which comes there. But I think overall, would say that it's still a wait and watch. I would wait for 2 quarters to get that comfort. But yes, the first gainer from the consumption mode would be autos, which we've seen yesterday and today. And I think there could be some more momentum of about 5 to 6%. Post that 5 to 6% is where I'm saying that, I would be cautious as to whether demand kind of sets in after about a quarter to the extent that we have already discounted the price moving ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Anu. We're going to have to let you go. Thanks so much for coming in, speaking with us. So that's the broad brush with regard to how Anu Jain from 361 is viewing this. The thought is that, yes, the worst is over. BFSI, banking, financial services, insurance, likely one pocket where there's value, and then there's consumption, and within consumption, auto. But more of a wait and watch with regard to that one. So that's how that's the key takeaway. Let me quickly also point out that we spoke to Suven Life Sciences on KYC earlier today, and we'll start doing this on a daily basis, trying to get you certain conversations we've done and key takeaways from it. The key takeaway from there is the one key drug, which likely, if it gets approval, is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity for a 5,000 crore market cap company. So that's where a large part of the opportunity will lie. SUVN 502 is the name of the drug. It's a drug to treat Alzheimer's, and everything likely depends on that. The likely timeline for that was 2026, but that has likely been tweaked by the management in our conversation, where they've said 2027 is going to be when they are anticipating their phase 3 approval to come through. Phase 3 is the final approval which the US FDA gives on drugs, and that's what they are anticipating and penciling in. The outcome, though, will be binary. Either the approval will come or not come, and hence the risk on this one is large because it's largely a zero revenue company and is loss-making. They've done a fundraise which should take care of their losses and R&D expenses for the next 2 to 3 years. And the US FDA is obviously allowing them to conduct phase 3 trials, but directly phase 3. They've been doing some research in this space for a while. Now, they've been told to do the phase 3 trial directly, which is a positive. And of course, the multi-billion-dollar possibility is something which the street is enthused by, and therefore the stock has doubled over the last 6 to 8 months. And why don't we do this? Why don't we go across listening to what the management had to say on KYC today?
No profitability in the next few years until a molecule is successful, because we do not have any revenue. As you know, we do only the drug discovery and development. We don't do any CRO business, which I used to do, or CDMO business, which I used to do in the Suven Pharma, which not anymore. That's why I have demerged it and focusing on this one, because I need to fund this one. If I'm in the same company, it is being penalized.
Okay. Well, it's a bit like a private equity investment that you have to do in the publicly listed markets, because here's the management. No matter what your beliefs may be about what this company may do, the management is saying that no profitability for the next 2 years. Did I hear that right, Harsh? No profitability for the next few years.
No, and obviously so, right? Everything depends on the phase 3, which is of the only phase 3 that they're conducting at this point is of this product.
But moot point being no profitability for the next few years.
Correct, yes.
Simple. I mean, that should...
And they have enough funding to take care of that, right? So they've just raised 850 odd crore. That should kind of take care of the next 2 years, both in terms of losses on the operating side as well as R&D expenses.
Yeah, but keep in mind, viewers, so therefore that's the kind of company that you're looking to invest in. Effectively, it's a private equity investment kind of stuff. Kush, this one has had a good days and bad days. Rallied, I think, all the way to 290 or thereabouts. Has cooled off since then. Anything on the charts that is worth noting about Suven Life?
By the way, I absolutely love the comparison that you've made. A private equity investment in a listed company. Absolutely love that comparison, Neeraj. The stock's actually had in the recent past 4 negative weeks. This time around, it's just trying to find its feet. So too early to call it any kind of reversals. I would actually wait and watch. On the downside, actually, I'll be looking at the 215 mark, where about 3 months ago, the stock's taken support at multiple times and then rebounded. If it does hold up, then maybe you could start accumulating around those levels. But right now, nothing suggesting that there's a reversal on the cards on Suven Life.
Okay. All right. So that's the view with regards to where Suven Life Sciences stands. Kush, the other counter that's doing very well in trade today is Aarti Pharma, and it's up almost 8% as we speak. Anything on the charts that you're seeing specifically on this one? And if somebody wants to enter right now, is that the right thing to do?
They can actually, because the stock has taken support at the 200-day moving average. So definitely, the base formation has happened over the last couple of sessions. Today also the stock is up on volumes. From a technical standpoint, there was this gap, which got filled today around the 845 mark, and that just gets filled today. The volumes are high and the momentum indicators are just starting to turn. So the risk reward ratio on this one is fairly favorable. I would suggest, if you're looking to re-enter because of the favorable risk reward ratio and the spike in volumes that you've seen, I think it's a good idea to keep a stop loss at the 815 mark, and then gun for targets of 880, and once that is taken out, a 910 as well. So offers good risk reward ratio. The bounce is backed with volumes. So with a stop loss around the 815 mark, you could consider a long trade on Aarti Pharma.
Anything on Devyani International, up 10% today. No fundamental trigger as such, but anything on the charts and in the entire QSR space, anything specifically that you're liking with regards to where charts are concerned?
Not really, Mahima. I mean, this space has actually promised, a couple of times and then not delivered. And by that, I mean, it's been as short as a couple of days that the rally has lasted, and then it's fizzled out. You look at something like an RBA, even Devyani for that matter. Right now, the pop is packed with very heavy volumes. I'm pretty sure there must be some, trigger around the corner. But the failure, the rejection has come from the 200-day moving average, near the 170 mark. This happens to be a supply zone, about 170 to 175. So I wouldn't enter afresh. Maybe this is an opportunity for someone who's been holding on to this one for the last 2.5-3 months to exit and look at better avenues. But right now, the entire space is not really buzzing. And Devyani, if you have a position, it's a good idea to take some money off the table, perhaps exit, at the current level, at the current bounce.
Okay. Kush, stay on. You always love listening to what Somit does, as does everybody else, right? We wait for this segment, and it is that time of the show when we get in Somit Sarkar to talk about all the chatter from the dealing room. Somit, good afternoon. Does it feel good? Everybody waits for you like the way they wait for a Salman Khan blockbuster?
No, too much pressure. Well, yeah, multiple stocks that remain in focus. Firstly, it's eternal, and the buzz on the street is that there could be a block deal very soon on this counter, so keep an eye out for eternal. Then there is a bunch of stock, SRF, PNB Housing and Tube Investment, where dealers are indicating that there are buy flows on institutional desk in trade in all these three counters. And for PNB Housing specifically, dealers are also saying that the valuations continue to remain cheap and the stock has come out of the FNO ban. So keep an eye out for PNB Housing. The stock that we are showing here is PNB. It's PNB Housing stock that's up around 5.5% in trade. Industars, another counter, dealers indicate that there are buy flows at lower levels, and street is expecting a development regarding the dividend policy very soon for Industars. For Shell Engineering, there are buy flows on large HNI desk, as dealers are expecting some positive development to come in this counter. For Keynes Tech, there are sell flows and some negative development is expected. The stock was up 1.5% in trade, and currently it's trading down 0.3%. So keep an eye out for Keynes Tech as well. And lastly, it's Ola. Dealers are indicating that there are buy flows on DI desk. PMS, which recently launched its mutual fund, is also a buyer in trade today, and multiple other HNIs have been buying this counter off late. So keep an eye out for Ola as well.
Wow. Interesting. Now, Somit, just a couple of insights into things. Now, one is Shelley Engineering Plastics, for a business which is not very large and a stock that has moved up from 600, 700 about a year and a half ago to nearly 2,000. You are hearing that there is more buying happening here.
Yeah, and there could be some positive development, some kind of tie-up is what the street is indicating. It will be interesting to see what actually comes out of this.
And Keynes, what's the negative that you're hearing?
Well, there's no clarity, but then there could be something negative. Some negative development is what
I was just trying my luck. So. As we all do with Somit. So yes.
No, and the other thing is Ola Electric, because Somit, this we've heard from a number of people that some HNIs have gotten into this one. We did a conversation with them yesterday as well. The optimism, does it stem from the new gigafactory or is it something else? Any idea?
Well, as the new gigafactory is one of the reason why this optimism is there, and apart from that, today also the news flow regarding the rare earth material is also kind of positive for the entire auto space, including Ola as well.
That will be quite something. Okay, Somit, thanks for bringing us those updates. And Kush Boda, I wonder, you heard some of these things. Ola may not have too much of a chart history to itself, but I wonder if you have some thoughts here.
First up, I mean, you just called Somit Salman Khan and he went straight to business. He never stops to...
He's focused, Kush. No matter what you tell him, he goes straight to
absolutely
talking about the stocks.
And we all love him for that. I mean, some special segment this is. So, look, Neeraj, for me, the view hasn't changed much in the sense, and maybe this is my personal bias on Ola. But if I speak purely from a technical standpoint, you're starting to see some positive RSI divergences and definitely some accumulations. The number of green candles on the volume, the green bars on the volume that I see are spiking up. So if someone is in this for a very high risk trade with a stop loss around the 40 level from where the stock has rebounded, maybe for levels of 52 and about 58, maybe round it off to 60, you could consider a very high risk trade on Ola. So that's the view. The one that I like, from what Somit's mentioned, the one other that I like is PNB Housing Finance. We know that the sharp fall was there. You're starting to see a rebound. Yesterday and today, this move is now backed with very impressive volumes. So again, for a very high risk reward ratio, if someone wants to consider, I think a positional trade on PNB Housing makes sense. I would keep my stop loss near the 770 mark, and on the way up, and this, mind you, these are positional targets. So 875 and perhaps even 930 is likely on PNB Housing in the next couple of months. So offers a very interesting risk reward ratio.
Okay, all right. The other counter that Somit was talking about was Eternal and a possible block deal there. Last week or so, we saw Antfin exit the counter completely, wondering who the next seller could be in this counter. But we are also joined by Vinit Bolinchkar, the head of research at Ventura Securities, joining us now. Vinit, hi, good afternoon to you. With respect to where Eternal is concerned, the overhang was that considering that they have capped the total FI holding, there could be possible FI outflows, which has happened. Antfin has exited the counter, and now there is a comfort level available when it comes to FI holding in Eternal at present. But with regards to where the counter is concerned, we've seen good up moves coming in. What is your view with regards to where Eternal stands and versus the Swiggy? Would you still prefer an Eternal?
I think Eternal is way ahead in terms of all its business models. And, they've really done well. We were a little skeptical earlier on the stock, but, they're pleasantly surprised with growth across all spectrum. And definitely it's a easy buy when you compare it with with Swiggy.
So Vinit likes Eternal over Swiggy. All right, but with that, it's time to step into a very short break. Up next, we'll put the spotlight on the theme of the day, that is textiles, and also talk about Axis Bank on our bull versus bear segment. So do stay tuned. Lots more lined up on the other side.
माय बर्थडे गिफ्ट टू पापा, ये उनके पापा की पहली गाड़ी एक गराज में पड़ी थी दार्जिलिंग में, फिर 3 मैकेनिक, पेंटिंग, पॉलिशिंग, तब इसे फाइनली घर लाया ना, तब लगा लाइफ में ग्रो किया है।
SIP करो, इन्वेस्ट करो, लाइफ में ग्रो करो। प्रतिभूति बाजार में निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। निवेश करने से पहले सभी संबंधित दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
They're the force behind some of India's most respected business empires. But you've rarely heard them speak. Now, for the first time, these leaders open up on succession, conflict, governance, and inheritance. Join me as we step inside boardrooms and living rooms of India's most enduring family businesses for real stories, raw conversation, resilient legacies, building legacy.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
They're the force behind some of India's most respected business empires. But you've rarely heard them speak. Now, for the first time, these leaders open up on succession, conflict, governance, and inheritance. Join me as we step inside boardrooms and living rooms of India's most enduring family businesses for real stories, raw conversation, resilient legacies, building legacy.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in?
Welcome back. You're watching India Market Close here at NDTV Profit. Now, the sector of the day that we've chosen today is textiles, and it has to be textiles because a lot of counters from the entire space are buzzing, and this is because of a recent notification that says that on raw cotton imports till 30th of September, there will be no import duty that will be imposed. Earlier, there was 11% import duty on raw cotton imports, which will be paused and removed for next 42 odd days. The cess also that was being imposed on the import of raw cotton will also be removed for the next 42 days, and the government says that this will provide a temporary relief to the textile sector as a whole. Amongst the concerns that are relating to the Trump tariffs that have been going around and that have been impacting textile sector as a whole. Now, with regards to what stocks could benefit from this, and there are up moves being seen on these counters. There is Western Living, of course, off from its day's highs, but up 3.6%, followed by Trident, KPR Mill, as well as you have your Pearl Global, Gokaldas exports that are seeing good gains. You have Vardhaman Textiles also doing very well in trade today. In fact, amongst the top gainers in the entire textile pack. Now, with regards to where volumes stand for these companies, in terms of how they are trading today, Vardhaman Textiles is having the highest amount of volumes in trade, trading around 2.5 times its 30-day average, and followed by some other counters as well. With regards to where valuations are concerned for these companies, well, all of these companies are trading anywhere between that 20 times mark to around almost 41 times, but the cheapest among that is Vardhaman Textiles, and that is one of the reasons as to why the stock is amongst the top gainer in the entire space as well. Lastly, to conclude, India has high ambitions when it comes to textile exports from India, and the targets that have been set by 2030 includes $100 billion worth of exports from textiles from India in terms of where textile stands. So this is the overall view as to what's happening with the sector and why some of these stocks are seeing strong gains today. In fact, we spoke to the management of Pearl Global today with regards to this particular import duty removal. Listen to what he had to say.
Too early to say, but at the same time, I think the advantages should be there. There's 11% tariff on any imported cotton. We do, certain requirements are there from, like say, from the Australia market or from US market to use their cotton, and that's where we were not competitive enough. So this 11% also I think is a positive direction that should give that advantage. And overall, if the cotton and the fabric becomes more competitive in the global market from India, then that's an advantage.
Well, various views, frankly. Vineet, do you have a view with regard to the textile sector as a whole? Would you at this point venture and play that theme, and what would the names be, if at all you would?
So obviously Pearl Global, we have initiated coverage on it and the stock has come down quite a bit. Pearl Global is better diversified since it has got multi-geography manufacturing facilities, and we think that this company can do well going ahead. So Pearl Global is our pick for the textile space.
Okay, even now, you would feel. What's the upside like, Vineet, on this one?
So we'll have to pare it down a bit.
Yeah.
Earlier we were at 1700. So I think going back to the recent high of about 1500 odd should be the target now.
Do you have a view on a Pearl Global? Also, let me throw in some other names. PDS was one of those which come to mind. Gokaldas is the other one. A Web of Global as well in that kind of space. Maybe not exactly textiles, but in that space, that export space. So what's the sense on some of these?
So Harsh, first up, yes, technically speaking, also Pearl Global stands out. Most of the stocks in this space had gone to oversold territories. You're seeing a rebound from those levels. Not sure how sustainable that will be because there's still some distance away from any kind of meaningful recovery or an uptrend. Pearl Global, the reason it stands out is because it's the only one that came close to the 200-day moving average, slipped under just by a bit, and then is rebounding now. So hasn't lost much ground. I'm a big fan of buying strength. So this is definitely showing relative strength in the sector. I think on the upside, if you're looking at a positional bet, then 1450 and about 1525 are good levels, and keep your stop losses near the 1300, 1290 zones. Some of them, as I said, in this pack, including a Gokaldas, including a KPR Mill, they are rebounding from oversold territory. So you have to be a little careful whether this just turns out to be a dead cat bounce or maybe a more sustainable. Right now, it doesn't look like a very sustainable bounce. So I'd be a little cautious on some of the other names.
Okay, all right. So that's with regards to where the retail and textile space stands. But let's shift focus and talk about Shree Cements. The second half of FY26 to see better volumes and value growth, says H.M. Bango, chairman of Shree Cements. Listen in to what he had to speak about his conviction in a strong second half of cement companies.
Because of the price increase we have taken compared to the other manufacturers, our price increase was higher, our sales was little lower. Everything takes little time to homogenize with the whole system. 80% of it has been done. Within a month or so, we will be at par in volume with all others. So second half, I will say definitely that our volumes and prices both will be good. EBITDA we don't know because it is a competitive market. At what price we will compete, that gives the EBITDA.
Okay. Vineet, your view on the entire pack and any specific counter that you're liking in the entire cement space?
I think, JK Cement should do very well. The newly listed JSW Cement also should be looked at because, its efficiencies are fairly low now, and we believe that going ahead, they would get, optimized. So these are a couple of stocks that I would look to buy into the cement space.
Okay, and Kush, all right. And Kush, your view with regards to where these cement companies are concerned, any specific counters on the charts that's looking attractive?
Again, I promise you, Vineet and I haven't spoken, okay, prior to the show because we had a common view on Pearl Global and now on JK Cement. In fact, if you'll recall, just earlier this month, we initiated, a buy call on JK Cement around the 6,900 odd levels, and I've been reiterating that for some time. It's doing rather well. Continue to hold if you have a position. If not, you're better off buying it at dips around the 7,100 mark. But for now, the C1 that's showing, very clear strength among the rest of the pack.
Okay, yeah, so it's one of those where we're seeing both the fundamentals as well as the technicals aligned very, very well. So that's of course a positive. But the bull versus bear today is an Axis Bank, and why have we picked Axis Bank is because Bernstein came out with a note. They've reduced their target price on an Axis, but they continue to be positive, and therefore it's a good candidate to try and reassess as to what the bull and the bear case is. Third largest private sector bank in the country, so positive, the bull case there. And of course, there's a very, very large opportunity in banking. Market share gains can continue. But really, Q1 FY26, the growth has just been 8%. There's been no market share gains. In fact, they've lost market share on a YOY basis. Numbers have looked extremely sluggish, not looking good from that perspective, where growth hasn't come in. In fact, Bernstein has reduced their growth targets as well with regard to where an Axis Bank is concerned. So not looking good from that perspective. The goal is to build the strong liability franchise is what Axis Bank has always said, and that's always good. In fact, that has happened, especially post the Citi acquisition. Some part of that is coming in, but that's not reflecting in margins. The margins continue to slip. Guidance of 3.8% on the margin front is looking difficult in this environment where we've seen rate cuts. So likely we'll see the margins fall well below 3.8, and thereafter we'll have to see where they recover to. So that's where the bear case is. There's still some time to go whether that 3.8% can be held or not. The ROA guidance is roughly 1.5 to 1.7%. ROE is around 15%, which is not half bad for a bank which is valued at 1.6 times 1 year forward. But the ROA guidance is lowest among all top private sector banks. So we've seen pretty much all of them clock much better ROAs, and ICICI stands out. And even most recently, where Kotak has slipped, they've slipped at 1.9% really. So this is a far cry from that. So nowhere close to that. Now the last piece is with regard to valuations. Now it trades at a 20% lower multiple to its 5-year average, which is roughly 2 times. It trades at 1.6 currently. I did mention that. So that makes it a good case from a bull perspective. But the unstable performance, there's not been stability, and investors in the banking space don't like that. They like stable performers. They like consistent performers. That consistency is lacking. At any level, they tend to slip in a big fashion, which is not appreciated by the market. How do analysts view this at the current juncture? Well, they see a 20% upside, 42 buy calls, 10 hold calls, no sell calls, and a 23% upside to the current market price is what analysts see. Vineet, your view with regard to an Axis, would it be your top picks among private sector banks? How do you view it?
I think among the large private sector banks, we'll avoid Axis completely. They've always struggled with their, return ratios, and they've underperformed the market. And when we've spoken to them a couple of times previously, they have said that their focus is on profitable growth and not growing the balance sheet. And with 8% kind of AUM growth, you're not going to get anywhere because costs are going up, and margins are coming off. So they really need to step up on the pedal for, expanding their AUM. rather than consolidating the way they have been doing.
All right. Kush, your quick view on Axis with regards to where charts are concerned. What's the support and resistance that you're seeing?
Yeah, it doesn't even fall on the pecking order scale for me right now. I mean, the only two are ICICI and HDFC Bank. You must consider. As far as levels go, I think on the downside, you've got 1025 as a strong medium-term support. I mean, if it holds around those levels, maybe it could go sideways. And on the upside, it's just incidental that, it's about 100 points up. So 1125 on the upside is the resistance level. Trading in a band, not doing much for a while now. So for me, it's a miss. ICICI and HDFC, these are the only two that are worth considering in the private sector space right now.
Stocks moving around include the gaming names. I think Delta Corp, Nazara, etc. are all up and about in trade. Nazara Tech 1.39%, Delta Corp a whole 10%. Now, presumably there must be some developments that have happened. We'll talk about them in detail, and maybe we'll ask Vineet only after the fundamentals are known. But Kush, on the technicals, because these stocks are moving, wonder what you think of them.
So Nazara right now I would avoid. There is a negative divergence and low volume up move on this one. So this I would actually avoid right now. If I had a position, maybe I could continue to hold with a stop loss around the 1370 mark. Delta Corp is shaping up well. The move is very encouraging, as you rightly said. It's a big move, but also volume back. Had a resistance around the 90 mark for some time, and it's firmly above that right now. If this closing does come about above the 90 mark, I think you could see a further continuation of this up move to 95 and perhaps even 99 levels. So Delta Corp's the more interesting one between the two.
Okay, other stocks flying around: Endurance Tech, Aegis Vopak Terminals, Jubilant Wagons. There are a clutch of names which are doing well and trending or trading at the high point of the day or thereabouts. So watch out for some of these names as well. Vineet Bolinchkar, a name that we spoke about at 2:30, which was Shelly Engineering Plastics. I would love to know your view there if you cover it, because this business now has large institutional holding. I believe Motilal Oswal, AMC and a couple of others are invested there, and it's as a stock, it's done really well in the last 12 to 18 months. Do you guys cover it at all?
No, we don't cover it, but I've met them, and they've got some very, very strong, growth drivers in place, especially in the medical devices space. The pens that you manufacture for diabetes and other related products. So we believe that Shelly can do really, really well. It consolidated for a very long time, and it's given a breakout from that congestion zone. And I think that this stock has got legs to rally further.
All right. Okay. So that's with regards to where these counters are concerned. Shelly Engineering trading around 6% higher as we speak. But shifting focus to one counter that's doing well in trade today, that's Ola Electric, up 8.3% as we speak. And this is on the back of the key developments that took place in the Sankalp 2025 event. It showcased its India Insight vision, revealing new products, technologies, and a focus on local innovation and manufacturing as well. My colleague Puneet joins in with more details as to what he's picking up and why the stock is zooming.
Well, thank you for that. So definitely that's one of the key events. The other potential trigger that's developed in the middle of the day is what the comments that have been coming in from the China as well as the India meet as well, because China has promised to address 3 key concerns of India, and one of them is definitely rare earth crisis and the ban that China has put. So that could be the other trigger that's propelling the stock. In case of the announcements, and there were some key ones announced by Ola Electric in the Sankalp event this year. The first one's of course on integration of the in-house lithium-ion battery cells. This will come from September of 2025. And Ola claims to reduce the prices of its premium variants by 20 to 25,000 rupees per vehicle. So this is the first one. Apart from that, we've also seen the showcase of the new platform Gen 4. The company claims that the prices and the costing will be 41% lower than the Gen 1 variant which they had, and that should benefit gross margins as well as lower the losses going forward as well. Third key metric, foray into the sports segment. They're looking at the Ola S1 Pro Sport, which will be launched subsequently in January of 2026. Fourth key measure, release of the Move OS 6 platform, the software upgrades which they do. And this is key because this has 3 times the gross margin of new vehicle sales. So it's a key one to track. a couple of measures they've announced on, rare earth magnet and ferrite motors. Essentially, these are rare earth free and could help the company if the ban would have lasted longer. Now, of course, this new development has come in, so that'll be the other one to watch out for. And finally, the diamond head motorcycle. Now, this was going to address the premium space and is still 2-3 years away, but the pricing will be one of the key ones to watch out for. They mentioned that it will be priced at a premium as well. But my colleague Tamanna Inamdar also spoke to the management on some various aspects of the PLI scheme, because they had applied for PLI schemes in the battery space essentially. Listen to what they had to say.
No, that's a fair question. We have also decided that we will not expand beyond 5 gigawatt hour right now. Okay. For the PLI, we had to grow till 20. Okay. So, but we're the only one in that scheme who has put up a factory and is producing commercial cells. Yeah. So we are engaging with the government and telling them that we might need a little bit extra time. Okay. And the government is fairly empathetic because of the complexity that goes with this kind of a manufacturing setup. The fact that it's the first in India. So let's see, but we are very hopeful that the government appreciates our point of view on this.
The other one was addressing the rare earth crisis as well, and while there have been some new developments as well, let's go across to Bhavish Karwal again to listen in on how they are looking to tackle this aspect.
So I think the geo-strategic landscape, Tamanna, is increasingly getting more complicated, and I think there's broad consensus that the geostrategic landscape is only going to get more and more complicated over the next few years. As countries now start looking out for themselves, globalization is going through a different phase now. So, and this is also coming at a place where in India's journey, we are looking towards a Viksit Bharat dream, like the Prime Minister has said, where we have to develop ourselves. Now, how do we choose to develop ourselves? It's a very conscious choice we have to make, that we have to invest in technologies of the future, so that we can control the narratives of the future, the products of the future, supply chains of the future. Cell and this energy is one of them. Rare earths is another one, and we can see how our neighbors are really using it as leverage against us in a trade negotiation or whatever. The way forward for us is twofold, Tamanna. We have to partner with other countries. It's not as if only one country has the source. We have to partner with other countries, like-minded countries in Southeast Asia, elsewhere, western part of the world. And there are also, we have to leapfrog technologies. So now motors, electric motors today use rare earths. But the whole world has moved to rare earth free motors now, increasingly. Okay. Global OEMs, Western OEMs are increasingly testing rare earth free motors in their batteries. And Ola Electric is the first Indian company to do this. Our entire two-wheeler lineup will, by next quarter, be rare earth free.
Well, there's so much chatter around Ola and also the stock buzzing. Vineet, give us your take. How do you look at Ola at the current juncture?
So we have been very constructive on this for the past 1 month. We believe that, it's one of those stocks where you buy and, it's got a very high risk to reward ratio. They've got their act together now. They've got the entire manufacturing chain, value chain is completely captured, right from motors, magnets, software, batteries. They have their own distribution. And, I think this stock can, if they get their models right and they are able to sustain that 25 to 30% market share that they've been talking about, this stock can really, really turn out to be a multi-bagger. So quite optimistic on this. And, we think they should do well.
What about the charts, Kush?
Yeah, as I said earlier as well, I think this offers very high risk-reward ratio. Some positive RSI divergences. So, but this is only for someone who's a high-risk taker and maybe with a small quantity in your portfolio, if at all you want to consider. So, with a stop loss around the 40 mark for targets of 50 and 53 and about 60. That's the those are the levels on the upside. But I would since it's a very high-risk bet, I would place a small quantity if at all I'm investing in it.
The other space that's buzzing is defense. Vineet, do you have a view with regard to defense, and how would you play defense at this point if someone doesn't already have a position built in?
I think HL is one of the stocks that we think can do really well. And apart from this, BDL also looks good. But overall, it's a little bit of a flux out here. So you have to be very stock specific.
All right, so that's the view with regards to where the defense pack stands. But, there's a recent development that's taken place with regards to where Zepto stands. Abhinandan Lodha has, kind of partnered with Zepto for a 10-minute delivery, 10-minute land delivery. And this is to aid investor purchase branded plots in Vrindavan project via Zepto. It's an interesting development and one of its kind because it's unheard of. And so basically what will happen is that within 10 minutes users can browse the available plots, submit inquiries and also connect with an expert, get in touch with the expert to buy those plots. With regards to where recent updates for Zepto that are concerned, it recently raised 400 crores from Motilal Oswal, plus earlier partnered with Skoda also to offer test drives of compact SUVs, on their app itself. So interesting things that are happening in the quick commerce space. I'm wondering as to where this could, go and stop and probably,
But why do you want it to
I mean,
stop?
I don't want to stop, but there's no limit to this. I mean, the way this space is expanding, and probably only in India this is happening because, of course, because availability of labor and everything, cheap labor. But it's beyond my imagination that you can now go ahead on Zepto and probably buy a plot.
Yeah, and remember, this is happening when there are technically now there are incumbents, but there are 3 new companies which are not there per se, like doing this service 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. The incumbents, the actual incumbents are yet to come, which so many people have said are going to come. Imagine what will happen to this place a few years from now.
Yeah, I think Mahima will virtually be covering all sectors because she covers the quick commerce space and now you virtually sell everything on quick commerce. She'll have to cover pretty much all the sectors, I guess.
Yeah, will we, Vineet, you think we'll get to a point wherein, just Vineet, but we will sell research reports on quick commerce? Hey, I want a research report from Ventura. Can I get it on Blinkit?
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, you never know what could happen, right? Vineet, this morning, or in fact yesterday, we were talking about possibility of some sell flows on Eternal and Swiggy because Zepto apparently, as per some channel checks, has actually gained the lead in the monthlies on terms of deliveries, etc. and stuff like that. Now, is the success of Zepto, whether in quick commerce or otherwise, a negative for Eternal and Swiggy, or do you think long term all 3 can make money and gain?
I think they will all coexist. India's market is very big. Look at the way the numbers have just started stacking up for Blinkit. So, and it's just the beginning, right? People are catching on to this bandwagon of quick commerce. And literally, you can keep selling anything that you want. Just keep adding to your portfolio. You can do clothing, you can do merchandise, you can do whatnot. You can sell TVs, plasma, whatever. So I think quick commerce is evolving to become a very a better platform than, say, an Amazon, right? So I think this will do. These 3 companies will coexist and do really
well. Kush, your take with regard to a couple of these holding companies, because they seem to be under pressure today, especially from the highs of the day. Chola Holdings, Bajaj Holdings, both of those are down nearly 5% odd from the top.
So actually, yes, Bajaj Finance, in fact, Bajaj Holding, was consolidating for some time. It did see a pop along with the markets, but wasn't really a volume-backed one. Not surprised to see it again retrace to those levels. So I would actually be a little cautious with a support zone around the 13,600 mark. Probably push it a little to 13,500 as well. That zone, as long as that is intact, I think the consolidation that came about would continue, and the pop that we saw yesterday and day before would perhaps just act as an as an exit opportunity for some of the investors. As long as 13,500, 13,600 is held, this could just be some sort of consolidation going sideways. Nothing much to write home about in some of these stocks.
Vineet, are you of the opinion that holding companies are good bets, especially that they trade at these deep discounts? Of course, they called the holding company discount for a reason. But would you somewhere see value in them, and any names that interest you?
Bajaj Holdings is one, Maharashtra Scooters. These two come to mind. Others are, have become more or less their discounts have kind of narrowed. So these two are the ones which look good for me.
The other big bet, Vineet, that you had made was Paytm. Give us perspective on where you see it now, given the kind of rally we've seen on the stock since that point.
Well, I think it will be a steady compounder going ahead from here. Digital payments are here to stay. They got a huge market share, growing. They're getting into more value-added stuff, cutting costs, as we've seen last quarter. And that operating leverage is yet to play out. So I think it's a good hold. I think this stock will go to 1300 to 1400 in the next couple of years.
Kush, anything on Datamatics? The stock was under pressure, I believe, yesterday, but today is seeing some good gains, up 7%. Anything on the charts that you're observing, and do you think if somebody wants to enter right now, that's the right thing to do?
I'd suggest a wait on this one, because I think we'd spoken about this last week, where the stock had actually zoomed 70, 80 odd % in a very short span of time, and then the profit booking was obviously par for the course. Today is the first day after 3 sessions that the stock is starting to see some sort of traction, but not enough data, not enough volume to commit to the fact that the bottom indeed is in place, and the stock could again start to head north from here. So give it one more day, see the kind of accumulation that it has tomorrow as well, and then perhaps you could consider.
And what about Everready? Good volumes coming in there. Stock also up 7%. Anything on the charts there?
This one looks far more attractive. The consolidation breakout has come about. The stock had very strong resistance around the 425 mark. That's been broken. Still some distance away from the overheated territory. So yes, you could hold if you had for higher levels. If not, you could still make a trade in this one. Maybe the quantity could be a little small given the kind of move that has come about, but the momentum could take the stock to 455 and about 470 odd levels. And now the 425 mark, which was the resistance, will act as a support to keep your stop losses around the 425 zone.
Okay, and what about Infibeam Avenues? That counter is also seeing good gains in trade and good volumes as well?
No, it's a very clear avoid. This is just perhaps a dead cat pop kind of a bounce. The stock's been languishing for a very, very long time. I wouldn't consider an entry in Infibeam at all.
IFB, Kush, that's the one stock which was zooming in trade yesterday. We're seeing a bit of a cool off on it today. From the highs, of course, we're well off. Is there a view now that we are past that upper circuit that it had hit yesterday?
Yeah, so now would be a good time to take some money off the table. When the stock is locked in an upper circuit, it's a good idea to hold it for one more day, see if the follow through comes about. It did not. Incidentally, this is also the resistance zone from where the stock had slipped around the 1560 mark. The high that you see is actually 59.90. So, bang on from the resistance zone, it has retraced. So yes, take some money off the table. It's been a painstaking hold for the investors, who've held it on for the last couple of, months. So take money off the table, maybe at lower levels you could consider. Right now, this pop that came about yesterday is giving you, a good exit point, not too far from the highest that it made yesterday as well. So take money off the table from IFB.
Well, along with it, and we've been talking buzzing stocks all along, but we have some more. Vanch is with us to put the spotlight on some of the other top buzzing stocks for the day. Vanch.
Yeah, so let me start off with the fertilizer stocks. Now, fertilizer stocks remain in focus on the back of the news that the foreign minister of China, Wang, has assured the External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, that China is addressing India's needs for fertilizers. Now, this will benefit in terms of the resumed Chinese supply, and this will support agriculture productivity and national food security. Now, if I talk about some of the companies that will be beneficial from this, would include Paradeep Phosphates, Chambal Fertilizer, and Rashtriya Chemicals. Second on my list would be HLE Glasscoat. Now, the stock is up. Stock has already hit the 20% circuit mark today, and the stock is up, in fact, 90% in the past 6 months. Now, this is on the back of the acquisition that the company's arm has completed. They have acquired certain specific assets of a German-based company called Omras. Now, if I talk about the details of the acquisition, Omras is involved in manufacturing and distributing glass-lined and enameled tanks, and the cost of acquisition for this stands at about 28 odd crores. If we talk about the benefits benefits of this acquisition, this will enable the company to expand its geographic reach into Europe and Middle East, and will open doors for premium global projects, and will also mark an immediate entry into high growth infrastructure projects. Third on my list is Inox Wind. Now, the company has divested its stake worth rupees 175 odd crores in subsidiary Inox Renewables. Now, the transaction values Inox Renewables at about 7,400 odd crores, and the sale is expected to complete within 7 days. If I talk about some of the details of the Inox Renewable, the FY25 revenue stands at about 218 odd crores, which accounts for 6% of the consolidated revenue of the parent. And the net worth stands at about 930 odd crores, which accounts for 14% of the consolidated net worth of the parent. So these are some of the stocks that are in focus today.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Vansh. Another couple of buzzers in trade. You have a Raymond, which is up 7%, a Devyani International, which is up another 7.5% as well. So those movers, Delta Corp is off the day's highs, well off the day's highs now, at one point hitting 15%. And now, of course, we've seen a bit of a cool off where Delta Corp is concerned, as you can see on your screen. Samvardhana is the other one. Stock is perked up 5.5%. IIFL Finance also perked up 5% in trade. Kush, any of these names attracting your attention?
Samvardhana, yes. There has been a very interesting volume accumulation over the last 3 sessions. Today is actually a culmination of that. You're seeing a clear breakout of this stock around above the 96 level, which it held on to for some time. I think I would be interested in a trade in Samvardhana with the kind of volume accumulation largely rather than the price action. On the upside, I think the stock is now creating room for breaking that 103 resistance mark that it's been holding on to for the last 3 months. Once that is taken out, I think you're looking at 108 kind of a move as well, and keep your stop losses near the 94 mark. So offers a good risk reward ratio. Good accumulation over the last couple of sessions and taking out some key resistance levels today. So this momentum could well take it to 108 levels.
All right, Vineet, any names within the fertilizer pack that you seem to like? Do you like the pack as a whole? Give us that perspective.
Yeah, so we are very positive on agri feedstock and agri products. We believe that Paradeep Phosphate should do very well. Chambal should also do well. So these two are stocks that I would like to do.
Okay. Well, more voices, by the way. Pankaj Tibrewal, who is the founder and CIO of Ikigai Asset Management, spoke to us earlier and tells us about how to find opportunities in the broader market space where he, contrary to a lot of people in the market, is actually more constructive on. Listen into his rationale.
The reality has been very different. From February and March lows, mid and small caps of the broader markets has significantly outperformed the large caps. And that's not in fluke. I think there is a reasoning behind it. Even in this quarter, if you look at the large caps, which is the top 100 stocks, have delivered 6-7% earnings growth. Whereas the mid caps, the next 150, have delivered 17% earnings growth. And our belief is that though on a headline basis, the mid and small caps looks to be pricey and above a longer term average in terms of premium. But when you look at it from a peg basis, it's not that expensive because for per unit of growth, what price you are paying. So for a 6-7% large cap earnings growth, you are ready to pay 22 times. But for a 13-14% earnings growth on mid and small caps, for example, you are worried about 27-28 times. So I think we need to change our lens. Till the growth continues, I don't think you will see a massive, kind of a sell-off. There will be opportunities.
Okay, so well, that's the take coming in on the mid and the small caps. Is that, Vineet, give us your take with regard to how you're viewing the mid space in particular. Earnings growth momentum not really solid and valuations at a premium, justified in your opinion?
So, it's a little place where we would be watchful, want to bide our time on this and maybe look at it after a few days. Right now, it's a little too premium. and we want valuations to correct out here.
Okay, but just before I talk about these notes, Vineet, I'm again trying to understand, but you're still constructive on markets, right? From here on.
No, we are not really very constructive on the markets, and that is because of impending global disruptions that are happening. We believe that there's a very, very big repricing dollar risk that still persists. It's an overhang, and so you have to go very, very cautious. I would advise raising cash wherever the valuations are expensive. And wherever you have even slight doubt in your mind, I would, want to churn my portfolio and make it largely defensive. Because, the kind of world that will emerge after the reset that happens of Endono is going to be completely different. And then the stocks that will be moving are going to be extremely different. So, what's been bullish till now need not necessarily be bullish in the future.
Okay. Well, that's Vineet Bolinchkar's view. I'll also give you the contra view, which a couple of brokerages have given today, and one of them is Morgan Stanley. So Ridham Desai and colleagues write in their note that earnings growth has improved sequentially in Q1, marking a recovery. And they go on to say that this will actually, okay, so the details are that the Q1 beat is driven by stronger than expected revenue growth and the beat on the top line, and margin expansion is in line with expectations, at least that Morgan Stanley had. So that is the first set of things. They believe earnings growth and breadth have improved sequentially, and the relative stock performance, while has declined QOQ, it sets the stage maybe for some upsides here. So earnings for the broad market were in line with the narrow indices as well. But most importantly, this point, that likely improving growth coupled with recent developments provide triggers, and Ridham Desai and colleagues believe that sell-side expectations on earnings are low and they should be ready for a beat over the next few quarters. So this is the Morgan Stanley view. JP Morgan has come out with a view as well. Rajiv Batra has written a note. They are saying that they witnessed a largely in-line quarter according to their estimates. So that is part one. They say high single-digit earnings growth amidst global headwinds is something that probably was acceptable to them. The recovery in H2 will be led by income tax cuts, lower inflation, as well as policy rate easing. I believe tax cuts in general and not necessarily income tax cuts. Good monsoon and festive demand might all lead to this recovery. And he's reiterated, of course, his targets on the markets as well. So they are upgrading material sector to overweight. They have downgraded pharmaceuticals to underweight. But the most important line, and will come after this, of course, all of these are the reasons why they are doing this for material sector or for the pharma space. But the targets on the Nifty is the key thing. I mean, of course, pharma sector is the overweight thing, but let's get the target plate here. But he's saying that, reiterating that they expect Nifty 50 to trade between 26,500 and 30,000 over the next 6 to 9 months. This is the bull case scenario. This is JP Morgan's base case scenario. So let's wait and watch if that were to happen. Now, Kush Bora. We've heard Vineet Bolinchkar, you've heard what some of the others have said. My question to you is, if you expand the horizon and look at the next 6 to 9 months, do you get a sense of 27,000, 27,500, 28,000 odd levels on the Nifty? Or you don't?
So, Neeraj, I would actually take it, each day or each week or each month as it comes.
No, but
right now the sense that
Kush, I'm going to put you on the line on this one. One day at a time is fine. We'll talk to you every day. Right now, I'm asking you to expand the horizon and tell us. Rajiv Batra is saying that it could expand to 27,000, 27,500, and 28,000, whatever, over the next 6 to 9 months. Do the chart show that?
Not at the moment. I would gun for 26,500 as the bull case scenario. Maybe, as Vineet said, take some money off the table around those levels, see how things are shaping up, and then perhaps re-enter at lower levels. So right now for me, 26,500, yes, that's something that the FII short covering, some positivity in global factors could take the markets to. I wouldn't rule out the move until 26,000, maybe a little higher as well. But from there on, I would be a little circumspect, a little cautious, and maybe at lower levels, I would be inclined to park some more and invest some more rather than at those elevated.
Kush, BTST?
BTST is in Kajaria. The stock's actually been gaining quite a bit of ground. Very impressive volume action over the last 15 odd sessions. consolidation underway, but that's when you want to enter a stock which is actually seeing very interesting volume uptake. So 1330, 1365 are your targets on the upside. 1260 is where you place that stop loss.
Okay, Vineet, you're clearly not bullish, but there has to be a sector pocket space where you're liking the fundamentals as well as the valuations. Is there one?
I don't want to, comment too much. I believe that the headwinds will surprise everyone. I think we have not really appreciated what the dollar debacle can do. And, the kind of inflation that is going to play out in the US, you got interest rates in Japan just screeching out. On the contrary, the Americans want a rate cut. So, it's all not hunky-dory and something is going to break. And when it breaks, it's going to be really, really bad. I don't think that India can escape this. Our fiscal is going to get impacted. I don't see the government, raking in 2 lakh crores deficit, covering it up with RBI dividends or with, maybe more PSU divestments, so that's going to hit. And so all these things don't point to a very, very strong outlook, somewhere September 15th, September 20th. I think this is just a pullback rally and we are going to see some very, very bad cuts in the markets.
10%, 20%, Vineet? Where are your bets placed?
So, it's going to be very disruptive. So I wouldn't want to put a number on that. Right now, let's see how it plays out, what kind of levels we reach out going ahead. But, every rally should be used to pair your portfolio. You have to get cautious. You have to preserve capital because after this kind of disruption that takes place, we will definitely get massive opportunities to buy. And the sector to buy after that fall is going to be the electrical and electrical accessory space because power is going to be the new gold.
We need to have a counter here, and the counter is this, that if indeed India earnings, and yes, if the dollar weakness, as you said, is underestimated and all hell breaks loose, that's separate. But because it's a bit of an imponderable right now, right? It's a hypothesis. So I'm giving a second hypothesis that since we don't know the extent of damage that could do, but if indeed this quarter sets the stage for earnings growth of 10, 12, 13% as the case may be, right? If Indian fund flows, which have shown resilience all through the worst times, stay solid and therefore the demand for paper continues as is. And if at some point of time, because of the RBI push, because of the GST thing, because of possible consumption uptick, all of that data comes into play, why is it that the markets will correct 10%?
So, I've got 3 triggers that I believe the market is underappreciating right now. One is that, if there is a kinetic action once again, it's not going to be a 3 to 4 day kind of event that takes place. Second is, the geopolitics is very, very convoluted and very, very negative towards India. Second thing is that, we are underappreciating the extent to which we can possibly and, diversify our markets. It's not going to become an overnight thing. It's going to take its own time. In the US, you had massive pricing power. That is why exporters sold only to the US and not to the rest of the world. And when you go and diversify markets, they do not have the pricing power. So, you're going to see quite a lot of margin compression happen. The third thing is, as I pointed to you about the dollar, right? And with the dollar comes services export recession. So we are already seeing the kind of H-1B visa action that is taking place. Renewal of H-1Bs is leading to interviews and there's a lot of anti-India sentiment. And it's not gone down very nicely with the geopolitics that India has stood up to the US. So, all our exports are very, very, the services are very, very US centric. So, diversifying those markets and is not going to happen. And you're going to see urban consumption suffer because of that. Related to that is your real estate sector. Related to real estate, which is one of the highest, employment generators, along with textiles, all are getting impacted. So it's going to be a stretched out scenario at best, and that is what is not being appreciated by the markets. I believe that we may have seen one of the best times in terms of margins for the Indian industry. And so we really need to circumspect, and Q2 will be an eye-opener.
Okay, Q2, we'll wait for that, Vineet. Calling the prophecy, probably 10% on the index is what he's expecting in terms of a correction. But both of you gentlemen, thank you. It's been a stretched afternoon. We'll let you go. Thanks for coming in, giving us those views. A minute to go to close. When you're looking at where the Nifty is, it's decently well placed. But what we're not seeing is the fine print within that 0.5% gain that we're seeing today. 25K nearly there. When you're looking at the heat map on the Nifty, not as much support coming in from the bank Nifty, which is up just about 0.25%. It's essentially auto and really the big boy Reliance. And if I pull up the contributors, you'll see what I'm talking about. Half the points of the 100 that we've seen in terms of the gains on the Nifty have been contributed by Reliance alone. So that's been the big mover that has helped the index scale the 100 odd point number that we've seen in terms of the gain today. Outside of that, you're seeing some bit of a drag coming in where some of the banking counters are concerned. Not much of a contribution coming in from there. So that's not helping either. We've closed for the day. Let's pull up the advanced decline. The breadth on the Nifty largely even, Steven, but you're looking at the advanced decline, which is tilted strongly in favor of the advances. So second straight day where we're seeing that. And that is reflective in the broader market. So while the Nifty is not showing that, the broader markets are gaining strength to strength. 1% higher on the Nifty mid cap. The Nifty small cap as well marching on. 0.8% higher on the Nifty small cap. 17,000 breached out here. So nice little graph that we're seeing intraday with the way in which both of those have moved. So that's the key positive. Let's look at sectors, and the sectoral indices will largely reflect the positivity that we're seeing. The Nifty auto is where we're seeing some gains, especially within the large cap basket. FMCG is the other space. So some spaces yesterday, or rather some of these gains are getting built onto yesterday's gains, and that's the other positive that we're seeing. So despite the strong gains yesterday, we're seeing another 1.3% higher on FMCG auto. We're also seeing Realty up around 0.7 odd. So what's not doing as well? Pharma, well, that was the one yesterday too, which didn't do as well. IT, despite not doing too well yesterday, is up around 0.33%. So some bit of a reversal on that versus yesterday. And defense is down 1%. So that's where some part of the pain also is, where the market is concerned. Let's look at the BSE 500 top gainers, top losers. And of course, you'll see some big movers, and HLE Glasgow is up, Jamna Auto is up, and from the lows, Jamna Auto is up for a 5th day in the last 6 trading sessions. So doing fairly well for itself over the last couple of weeks. Delta Corp is the other one, which is up nearly 8%. Of course, that cabinet meet is one of the reasons why that one is up. Some of the holding companies facing some pressure today, along with IFB, which was up 20% yesterday, seeing a bit of a correction from that. Bharat Dynamics within the defense pack seeing some pressure. Intellect Design, Eureka Forbes, Lemon Tree again seeing a correction after the kind of move it saw yesterday. So some of those are just counter moves to what happened yesterday. Seeing a bit of a cool off from the kind of zing we saw yesterday. But broadly, these are the big movers. Motherson Sumi is up 6.5% at close today. So again, auto is one of those spaces where there's plenty of traction. But some of the things to look out for while we close out today and likely before we open tomorrow. Those are some on the macro side, not much of an impact where India is concerned. That's one adjustment with regard to dividend, which will come in tomorrow. But outside of that, really nothing to look out for. For the moment, completely out of time on India Market Close. From Neeraj, Mahima, myself and everyone who puts the show together, thanks so much for watching. Stay with us. Market Express will take all the action forward.
They're the force behind some of India's most respected business empires. But you've rarely heard them speak. Now, for the first time, these leaders open up on succession, conflict, governance, and inheritance. Join me as we step inside boardrooms and living rooms of India's most enduring family businesses for real stories, raw conversation, resilient legacies, building legacy.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola? Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
Good afternoon, you're watching Market Express and I'm Sanjana. Let's get straight into the show and have a look at all of the stories that we've got lined up for you today. First up, range-bound day on trade of Dalal Street. The Nifty shut shop around 25,000 mark, ending with positive bias. Meanwhile, Sensex gained more than 300 points. Most sectors ended the day in green. Oil and gas, auto and media were the top gainers. On the flip side, defense and pharma were the top laggards. Tata Motors, Adani Ports and Reliance emerge as the top Nifty gainers, while Dr. Reddy's, Cipla and Hindalco shedded most of the weight. The market breadth ended highly skewed in favor of the advances, with over 2,000 stocks ending in green. According to JP Morgan's bull case scenario, Nifty 50 is expected to hit 30,000 by April 2026, driven by improved earnings growth and economic recovery. This optimistic forecast is based on the assumption that corporate earnings will grow by 15 to 20% in the next fiscal year. JP Morgan's chief India equity strategist Rajiv Batra is bullish on certain sectors, including financials, consumer staples and consumer discretionary, excluding autos. On the other hand, he's underweight on IT, pharmas and auto counters. Vedanta Group company Hindustan Zinc has received board approval for an investment worth 3,800 crore rupees. This is to establish zinc tailing reprocessing plant in Rajasthan. The 10 million ton per annum facility will transform mining waste into resources by extracting zinc and silver from previously processed tailings. The project forms part of Hindustan Zinc's strategy to double production capacity, including expanding refined metal capacity by 250 kilotons per annum. GMR Airports is set to raise up to 5,000 crore through methods like qualified institutional placement and bonds, with its board meeting on August 21st to finalize the plan. This move aims to strengthen the company's balance sheet and fuel its growth in India's booming aviation sector. Let's keep it going with fundraise related updates now. Nuvoco Vistas Corporation has approved a 600 crore fundraise through non-convertible debentures on a private placement basis to bolster its financial position. The move announced today aims to support the cement maker's expansion plans and optimize its capital structure in a competitive market. Vedanta's board will meet on August 21st to decide on a second interim dividend for FY26, following an earlier 7 rupee per share payout and a total of 43.5 rupee per share in FY25. Market buzz on August 14th hinted at positive corporate developments, boosting investor anticipation for the upcoming announcement. Prasari Biotech has approved the acquisition of leasehold rights for 12,600 square meters of land near its existing facility for 9 crore. This move announced today aims to facilitate seamless expansion of the company's specialty chemicals operations to meet a growing market demand. Reliance Jio has discontinued its entry-level 1 GB per day plan priced at 209 rupees and 249 rupees, pushing subscribers to a 299 plan now offering 1.5 GB a day for 28 days, outpacing Airtel and Vodafone Idea's 1 GB day plans at the same price. This move is set to boost Jio's average revenue per user by 4% from 208.8 rupees to 253 as customers upgrade. Reliance Infrastructure has received a letter of award from NHPC for a 390 megawatt solar power project with battery energy storage system. This project is valued at approximately 4,000 crore rupees and will include 700 MWP of solar DC capacity. The company stated that the tender attracted 15 bidders, with the auction being oversubscribed by nearly 4 times. The project is part of the NHPC's goal for interstate transmission system connected renewable energy infrastructure. Inox Wind shares gained nearly 6% after the company sold stake worth 175 crore rupees. The company sold stake in its EPC subsidiary, Inox Renewable Solutions, at a valuation of 7,400 crore rupees. The wind energy company divested 49.6 lakh equity shares, reducing its holding from 92% to 89%. The subsidiary contributed 6% to Inox Wind's consolidated revenue in FY25, with revenue of 217.98 crore rupees, and despite the recent gains, Inox Wind has fallen 30% over the past 12 months. Marine Electricals has secured a 17.4 crore order from All Weather India to supply control panels, with delivery scheduled over the next 36 months. Building on its FY25 revenue of 767 crore, this deal reinforces the company's strong foothold in the electrical solutions sector. On to an interesting update now. Not just a steaming cup of coffee and piping hot samosas, you can even buy a parcel of land on Zepto. Zepto, in partnership with the House of Abhinandan Lodha, now lets you buy premium Vrindavan land plots in just 10 minutes via its app, with prices starting at 1.39 crore. Fresh off a 400 crore raise from Motilal Oswal, Zepto's platform allows investors to browse plots, submit inquiries and connect with experts instantly. SEBI has released a consultation paper proposing easier rules for very large companies to launch their initial public offerings. The proposals include relaxed minimum public offer requirements and extended timeframes to meet public shareholding norms. SEBI's Market Advisory Panel is set to review key reforms in market operations. Top proposals include capping broker positions in equity and index derivatives to reduce risk and curb market concentration. The panel is also looking to tighten governance at exchanges by appointing 2 independent executive directors and defining roles for heads of compliance, risk, tech and cybersecurity. It may also propose merging investor protection funds of stock and commodity exchange and allowing IPF interest to fund dedicated staff. Meanwhile, white goods companies are preparing for delayed purchases as consumers wait for a GST rate cut. High-value items like air conditioners and large TVs are being held off in anticipation of a tax reduction from 28% to 18%, which could lower prices by about 10%. Major industry players such as Blue Star and Godrej Appliances are seeking clarity on possible cess. Big news for yarn and fabric exporters as the government is waiving the cotton import duty to address tight supplies and stabilize prices ahead of the harvest season. This measure aims to help mills facing high input costs and provide exporters with up to 40 days of relief, preventing prolonged downward pressure on domestic cotton prices. As per our sources, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will present the centre's GST proposal to the group of ministers. The centre has proposed, remember, a 2-tier GST structure with tax rates of 5% and 18%. The GOM, convened by Bihar Deputy Chief Minister Samrat Chaudhary, will discuss the centre's proposal over a 2-day meeting. The meeting scheduled for August 20th and 21st will focus on rate rationalisation. China's export restrictions on rare earth magnets are causing a supply chain bottleneck impacting India's electric vehicle manufacturers. Minister of State for Commerce and Industry Jitin Prasada informed Parliament that consultations are underway to address the issue. China's restrictions have resulted in a shortage of critical minerals, including rare earth elements used in producing rare earth magnets. The Ministry of Mines is working to ensure supply chain resilience for these minerals. The global automotive industry is also feeling the pinch, with Germany's automotive lobby warning of production delays and outages. The US, Japan and Europe are seeking alternative sources and domestic production to reduce reliance on China. And Union Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia announced the nationwide rollout of advanced postal technology by India Post. This move, backed by a whopping 5,800 crore investment under it 2.0, and aims to transform India Post into a world-class public logistics organization. Driven by the Prime Minister's vision of Digital India and Make in India, APT is a fully indigenous platform that will enable real-time decision-making, boost e-commerce reach, cut operational costs through automation, and deliver citizen-first, mobile-ready services anywhere, anytime. The National Highways Authority of India has launched a FASTag annual pass that will allow users to cross up to 200 toll plazas on national highways and expressways for a one-time payment of 3,000 rupees. With a one-year validity, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Haryana are leading the purchases with over 5 lakh users signing up within 4 days of its launch on August 15th. To activate the pass, users can download the Rajmarg Yatra app or visit the NHAI website, log in, verify eligibility, fill in vehicle and FASTag details, make the payment and receive confirmation. The SoftBank Group is investing $2 billion in Intel by purchasing shares at $23 each. This makes the group one of Intel's top 10 shareholders. Masayoshi Son, the chief executive and chair of SoftBank, described Intel as a trusted leader in innovation. Meanwhile, news reports suggest that the US government is considering taking a 10% stake in Intel, potentially converting part of its funding into a direct equity stake. Intel is currently valued at more than $100 billion. Apple India has leased a massive 2.7 lakh square feet of office space in Bengaluru for 10 years with a whopping rental outlay of 1,010 crore. The company will pay a starting monthly rent of 6.31 crore, which translates to 235 rupees per square foot, of an annual escalation of 4.5%. The fresh investment comes from Apple, despite US President Donald Trump openly calling out the company for expanding operations in India. OpenAI has launched its most affordable ChatGPT plan yet, called ChatGPT Go, priced at 400 rupees per month exclusively for India. ChatGPT Go offers 10 times higher message limits, image generations, file uploads, and 2 times longer memory. The plan is designed for everyday users seeking greater access to advanced AI capabilities at a lower cost. India is OpenAI's second and largest and fastest growing market, with active users more than tripling over the last year. According to S&P Global Ratings, India's solid economic expansion is expected to continue, driven by strong economic fundamentals. The impact of tariffs is likely to be short-term and mitigated by unaffected services exports. GST reforms will take time to play out, but are expected to boost consumption spending without dragging down fiscal revenue. Private capital expenditure is predicted to double in the next 5 years, led by power and transmission, with industrial capex also expected to pick up. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval met Chinese Foreign Minister ahead of the Prime Minister's SCO summit visit. Doval expressed optimism about the 24th Special Representative level talk, highlighting positive shifts in India-China relations, including quiet borders, peace, and stronger bilateral engagements. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is visiting Russia with the Commerce Ministry delegation to discuss settling trade in local currencies. This visit follows India-hosted meeting in November 2024 under the India-Russia Trade Commission. Russia will host the next session, highlighting ongoing collaboration between the two countries. The Central Pollution Control Board has ordered all waste-to-energy plants and sanitary landfills to install online systems that continuously monitor emissions and effluents. This step is aimed at improving environmental compliance and oversight. As per the notice, states are required to submit updates on the progress of these installations this week. Mumbai remains on red alert as heavy monsoon rain continues to lash the city. The IMD has warned of intense showers and strong winds up to 60 kilometers per hour in Mumbai and surrounding districts like Thane, Palghar and Raigad. Flooded roads and shut subways have brought traffic to a crawl. Stretches like Veera Desai Road are waterlogged, while Andheri and Poisar subways have been closed. The Methi River's water level has also risen sharply by nearly 4 meters due to the relentless rain. As a precaution, the BMC has evacuated around 350 people from the low-lying Kranti Nagar area. Transport services remain heavily affected and schools and colleges are shut, and traffic continues to move slowly across key parts of the city. The India opposition bloc has fielded former Supreme Court Judge B. Sudarshan Reddy as its candidate for the vice presidential election. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge confirmed the nomination after a leadership meeting, setting up a direct contest against the NDA's pick. C.P. Radhakrishnan. The election is fast approaching, with polling scheduled for September 9th and nominations due by August 21st. During a meeting with Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, Prime Minister Modi emphasized the objective of cultivating a pool of 40 to 50 astronauts. Shukla observed that unlike in 1984, children today actively inquire about becoming astronauts, reflecting India's expanding space aspirations. He expressed a strong commitment to inspire and enable more individuals to achieve this milestone. Government sources clarified that there is no change in India's position on Taiwan. PTI reports suggest that New Delhi maintained a relationship with Taiwan focused on economic, technology and cultural ties. This statement follows reports that External Affairs Minister Jaishankar reaffirmed Taiwan as part of China during talks with Chinese Foreign Minister. Tourism in Las Vegas is slumping this summer, with resorts and convention centers reporting fewer visitors compared to last year. Some officials are blaming the Trump administration's tariffs and immigration policies for the decline. The city, known for lavish shows, buffets and around-the-clock gambling, welcomed just under 3.1 million tourists in June, an 11% drop compared to the same time in 2024. Now, there were 13% fewer international travelers and hotel occupancy fell by about 15%, according to data from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that the United States will work together to provide security guarantees for Ukraine. Starmer made the statement in Washington, where he joined US President Donald Trump, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and EU leaders for talks on Ukraine's long-term security. The discussions focused on how allies can coordinate defense and financial support for Kyiv. Starmer also confirmed arrangements for a meeting between Putin and Zelensky, which would be the first since Russia's invasion of its neighbor in February 2022. Air Canada has suspended plans to restart operations after the union representing 10,000 flight attendants vowed to defy a government back-to-work order. The shutdown is disrupting around 1.30 lakh travelers every day. The Canada Industrial Relations Board has ordered flight attendants back on duty by Sunday afternoon, and Air Canada had planned to resume flights that evening. But the airline now says services will not restart. Union leaders say the order is unconstitutional and have told members not to return to work. A United Nations report shows that civilian casualties in Ukraine hit a 3-year high in July, with 286 people killed and nearly 1,400 injured. The UN says the toll is 48% higher than the same period last year and the highest since May 2022. Trump is eyeing a 3-way meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Russian President Vladimir Putin. Ukraine and EU leaders, however, remain concerned that a US-Russia agreement could sideline Kyiv and weaken Europe's security guarantees. Kyiv has made it clear that Western-backed safeguards against future Russian attacks must be part of any lasting peace deal. Thousands of anti-government protesters marched again in Serbia's capital. The demonstration was largely peaceful until a group of young men broke away from the crowd and hurled rocks at the ruling party's offices. The police moved with batons and armored trucks, dispersing the crowd and sparking panic in the city center. The protests, led mainly by students, began last November after a train station canopy collapse killed 16 people. Many citizens blame the tragedy on corruption and poor renovation work. President Alexander Vučić has rejected calls for early parliamentary elections, and on Sunday he announced tough measures against protesters and repeated his claim that the unrest is being orchestrated by Western powers. And it's big news coming in for cricket fans as India's Asia Cup 2025 squad is out. Surya Kumar Yadav leading and Shubman Gill named vice-captain, ending speculation about his T20I return. The 15-member team sees Jasprit Bumrah back, but no spots for Yashasvi Jaiswal, even for Shreyas Iyer. Abhishek Sharma and Sanju Samson retain their opening roles, while Rinku Singh secures a spot. The defending champions kick off against UAE on September the 10th. In a stunning upset, Atletico Madrid fell 1 goal short to Espanyol in their La Liga opener. Despite a brilliant free kick goal from Julian Alvarez in the 37th minute, Diego Simeone's side couldn't hold on. Espanyol staged a late comeback, equalizing in the 73rd minute, and substitute Peremia heading in the winner in the 84th. This marks Atletico's first opening day loss under Simon, despite their heavy summer signings. Leeds United are off to a flying start in their Premier League returns, stunning Everton with a commanding victory at Goodison Park. The Whites showcased their attacking flair and relentless energy, securing 3 points to maintain their perfect record. Manager Daniel Farke hailed his squad's intensity, while Everton Rue missed chances. Carlos Alcaraz has clinched the men's singles title after world number 1 Jannik Sinner retired due to illness, trailing 5-0 in the first set. The Spaniard, ranked number 2, secured his 6th title of 2025, extending his lead in their thrilling rivalry. Sinner, emotional, apologized to fans, citing health struggles. Alcaraz now heads to the US Open as a top contender. And that's a wrap on Market Express. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit for Profit 360 up next.
They're the force behind some of India's most respected business empires. But you've rarely heard them speak. Now, for the first time, these leaders open up on succession, conflict, governance, and inheritance. Join me as we step inside boardrooms and living rooms of India's most enduring family businesses for real stories, raw conversation, resilient legacies, building legacy.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola? Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the
Relentless rains batter Mumbai for the second consecutive day, causing severe waterlogging, road blockages and bringing the city to a grinding halt. Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis warns that the next 48 hours will be critical for the affected districts, which remain on high alert. It's a range-bound session on Dalal Street, with the Nifty hovering near the 25,000 mark and a closing with slight positive bias. The Sensex remained volatile, reflecting expiry day jitters as traders adjusted positions ahead of the weekly derivative settlement. Textile stocks rally after the government announces a temporary exemption on cotton import duty from August the 19th to September 30th, aimed at easing supply constraints and bolstering the sector. Industry experts say the removal of the 11% import duty will significantly reduce input costs, offering much-needed relief to manufacturers. Sources say China promises to address India's three concerns of rare earths, fertilizers and tunnel boring machines. Wang Yi's visit comes ahead of the Prime Minister's expected visit to China to attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tianjin from August 31st to September. The opposition India bloc picks former Supreme Court Judge Justice B. Sudarshan Reddy as its candidate for the upcoming vice presidential election. He has been fielded against NDA candidate C.P. Radhakrishnan, the current governor of Maharashtra and one of the tallest leaders of the BJP in Tamil Nadu, for the September 9th election. Good evening, you're watching Profit 360 on NDTV Profit and I'm Sanjana. Let's get into our top focus today. It is the monsoon mayhem in Mumbai, the city that never sleeps, that is definitely wide awake. A relentless monsoon has unleashed torrential rains across Mumbai, dumping more than 200 millimeters of rainfall in the past 24 hours. Streets have turned into rivers, homes into islands, and Mumbai's unbreakable spirit is being tested by nature's fury. From Colaba to Borivali, the downpour has spared no corner. What you can see on your screen are low-lying areas like Kurla, Sain and Andheri that have been submerged, with water surging into homes, shops and even hospitals. Central and Western railway services have been suspended, leaving thousands of commuters stranded at stations, clutching at umbrellas and hope in equal measure. My colleague from NDTV, Anuj Raite, now bringing you a ground report.
I'm present here in Krantinagar, an important area in Kurla region, right next to the much talked about Mithi River, and this particular area has been mentioned several times since morning because of the severe waterlogging, that has been witnessed by the people here of Krantinagar for the last 5 to 6 hours. We know for a fact, because the Chief Minister of the state, Devendra Fadnavis, confirmed it to us a while back, that close to 300 to 400 people have been rehabilitated from this. Have been shifted from this place to the close by BMC schools by the NDRF and the SDRF officials. We've seen that the deployment of all of those people along with the BMC workers has been continuous here for the last 5 to 6 hours. They suggest that in the last few hours the level of the water here in this particular area has actually gone down, and even now it is still it's above my knees, but this is still better than what was the case earlier is what they suggest. However, if the situation does not become any better, that is going to be a major challenge in front of the authorities. The major problem here is that it's right next to the Mithi River, and we've been talking about it since morning on how Mithi River, which was a trigger, during the 2005 mega floods that hit this city and took away lives of more than 1,000 people. Even the trigger for that particular flood was the rise in the level of Mithi River, and because this particular area where we are standing at the moment is right next to the Mithi River, that puts a lot of pressure on the administration to make sure that they put prompt actions and make sure that the people who need to be rescued from here are rescued as fast as possible. We also saw that the traffic in some of the major areas across this particular area has also been diverted, especially in the BKC and Kurla region, and that has again posed another challenge in front of the traffic police officers, because a lot of roads which are on the lower lying areas, traffic from them has to be diverted to the main roads, leading to the traffic moving ahead very slowly and putting a lot of pressure on the other roads. As you can also see on my screen right now, these are some of the visuals that we are getting from the Krantinagar area, where houses, as I've been pointing it out earlier, are almost submerged halfway through. As I said earlier, close to 350 to 400 people have already been shifted or relocated to the close by BMC schools, and a lot will depend on the intensity of the rainfall going forward and whether the situation will become any better in this part of the city or not.
Thanks so much for that, Anuj, and please stay safe. Let's hear from SkyMet's GP Sharma for more on the evolving situation. Good evening. Welcome to NDTV Profit. First up, I think a question on everybody's mind, sir. For how long can we see such heavy rainfall in Mumbai and these districts of Maharashtra?
Yeah, good evening, Sanjana. Monsoon mayhem, Mumbai. Rainstorm have been almost unrelenting, particularly for the last about 12 to 18 hours or so. As such, it was a heavy downpour last evening, in the night, through the night. And then heaviest was this morning. Okay, can you imagine just about 100 millimeter of rainfall in 3 hours between 8:30 and 11:30. And as of now, it is more than 150 millimeter of rainfall has been added in the just about 6 hours of today. Okay, the ground is saturated as your report was showing. The waterlogging is there, areas are inundated. All that will happen with this much rain falling in short span of time. Obviously, it is a difficult time. Now, as per my assessment, the rains should ease out a little tonight, late tonight maybe. Okay, Mumbai should wake up to a better morning to start with tomorrow. Okay, and it becomes further better and better. It's not going to stop raining. Okay, it will rain, but unlike what has Mumbai gone through today, the heaviest of this season's rainfall. Okay, month of August, generally it doesn't, for the last couple of years, actually, we didn't see much of rains. July, yes, but August, it didn't see much of rains, Mumbai. But then it has happened after 5 years now that extremely heavy rains there in the month of August. I was talking about that there's a likely relief as per my assessment. I think maybe a little late in the night or so, the rain intensity and the spread will reduce. And tomorrow morning, I definitely the better conditions will prevail. Then, but you see, all these water bodies, even if your report was showing Mithi River, which is through and through the city, it is overflowing. All the water bodies during such spells, they keep responding even after the rain become mild, or they ease out a little. Okay, so we need to be cautious, remain cautious, at least even after the weather improvement starts after another 24 hours, next 24 hours also. Okay, so that's the scenario. The good news which I see is the worst is likely to get over early tonight. And as we go towards midnight and early morning, I think the rain's intensity should reduce. Yes, Sanjana.
Right, GP Sharma sir, thank you so much for bringing us that update. And you know, it's a little bit reassuring that you're saying that hopefully things should actually ease out by this evening. One last question before I let you go. We saw largely, I would like to go out on a limb and say, a fairly dry July, and then we're also looking at, you know, right now the mid-August, actually really, you know, it's that torrential downpours, there's no other word for it, and the rains are absolutely relentless. So give us a sense of what we can expect to see through the rest of the month and potentially maybe some of September as well.
Okay, yes, Sanjana, the month of July was relatively dry, though it caught up with the normal rainfall in the month, through the month. But then as compared to the last, if you take 5-6 years, July was very heavy rains. Okay, it received almost 2022, 2023. It was double the normal of rainfall. July is the rainiest month for Mumbai, but still, one of those years we had in excess of 2,000 millimeter of rainfall in July. But this year, it was much better. Month of August, as I said earlier, last 4 years between 2021 and 2024, the rainfall has not been much. The maximum it was in 2022, which was 551 millimeter rainfall, which we have far exceeded as of now. Yes, the last heaviest downpour in Mumbai in the month of August, that was in 2020, wherein over 1,000 millimeter rainfall, 1,240 millimeter of rainfall was witnessed in the month of August. So these heavy downpour has returned after a gap of almost about 4 years. And further, you see, as I said, that rains are going to possibly relax tomorrow. Day after will be rather much improved conditions will be there. But I feel the rains will get back again. They will come back again sometime next week. May not be this intensity. It may not be heavy like this, but then After a break of about 3 to 4 days between, say, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, till the weekend, next week, possibly at the start itself, we will have again the rain intensity will pick up. Heavy rains are likely. Once again, I will say maybe around between 26th, 27th of August, the rains are going to pick up again. We're going to watch out again for some heavy rains over and around the capital city of Mumbai and suburbs. Yeah, that's it.
All right, GP Sharma sir, thank you so much for that very crucial information. Viewers, just to recap, we're likely to see a little bit of easing of the rainfall by later tonight, and tomorrow will hopefully be a better day. GP Sharma sir from SkyMet also adding that it is likely that the rest of the weekend won't be and won't see as many torrential downpours, but once again expecting very heavy monsoon and very heavy rainfall sometime next week around the 26th and 27th of August. Meanwhile, torrential downpours have plunged Dharavi into chaos with over 150 millimeters of rain inundating homes, workshops and fragile shelters. The slums' narrow lanes now resemble open sewers, and the overflowing Meethi River poses a grave threat to both lives and livelihoods. So what you can see on your screen isn't just a seasonal setback. It is a stark reminder that Dharavi's aging infrastructure is collapsing under pressure, and temporary fixes won't actually suffice. And now a quick look at how the markets fared today. It was a range-bound session on Dalal Street, with the Nifty hovering near the 25,000 mark and closing with a slight positive bias. The Sensex remained volatile, reflecting expiry day jitters as the traders adjusted positions ahead of the weekly derivative settlement. For more on this, let me go across to my colleague Harsh.
Well, the Nifty built on the gains from yesterday. We were up around 0.5% thereabouts. So, likely that's where the positive lies. But talk a little bit about the negatives as well. The Nifty 50 in terms of the breadth was largely even Steven. So we didn't see very strong breadth on the Nifty. Broader markets saw much better breadth, and that's the one possible negative. The other one is a large part of the contribution on the Nifty also came from a single heavyweight, which is Reliance, contributing 60 out of the 112 odd points that the Nifty closed in the green by. So that is where you saw some bit of tailwind come through, and that was only because of the increase with regard to Jio's rates, or rather the consumption. From 1 GB, the plans were discontinued for 1 GB. So likely ARPUs to go up. That was largely the reason. When you're looking at sectors as well, of course, autos took the lead. Some auto stocks which continued to do well, Tata Motors, Bajaj Auto among them, and the Nifty Auto too showed good traction and built on the gains from Monday. Very, very strong gains that it showed on Monday. It's up now over 5% for the week gone by. And outside of that, FMCG also did very, very well for itself. 1+% higher on the Nifty FMCG as well. What didn't do well was Pharma. What didn't do well was defense. So those two pocket spaces is where there's still some bit of pressure which continues. The IT space, which was probably the top loser, if I can call it that, in trade yesterday, is up around 1/3% thereabouts in trade today. So I had a decent outing where the IT space is concerned. You'll have to watch it for the week as well as to how that plays out. Broadly, when you're looking at the broader markets, the advanced decline was skewed well in favor of the advances, 1600 plus advances versus 600 plus declines. So that's where the market skew was. The Nifty mid cap and small cap just kept building onto the gains that they made all through the day. So we saw 1% higher on the Nifty mid cap, 0.8% higher on the Nifty small cap. So good traction built on both of those. Last off, BSE 500, some top gainers, losers, and within that pack as well, you saw packs like textiles do well. You saw packs like fertilizers also buzz in trade. So some of those specific pockets did buzz in trade even within the broader market pack.
Right, Harsh, thanks so much for that. Meanwhile, textile counters surged after the government announced a temporary exemption on cotton import duty from August 19 to September 30th, aimed at easing supply shortages. Industry players expected the removal of the 11% duty to lower input costs and strengthen India's position in trade negotiations with the US.
basically the announcement is that the government has decided to kind of remove import duty on the import of raw cotton till 30th of September. That's 42 days from here. And they've also removed the agriculture, infrastructure and development cess till 30th of September. The rate at which this was charged was at 11%, which has now been removed. So that's a big relief when it comes to the textile companies. And government said that this is a much necessary move in order to protect the domestic players, as well as and this also relates to the tariff uncertainty that's going on and has been an overhang on the entire textile space as well. In terms of stocks that could benefit from this include Welspun Living, Trident Limited, KPR Mills, Gokuldas Export, Pearl Global as well as Irwin Limited. Now in terms of volumes are being seen in these counters today on the back of this news. Welspun Living with highest volumes of around 2.5 times its 30-day average, followed by Trident Limited at 0.42 times, Pearl Global at 0.26 times and so on. In terms of the analyst recommendations for these counters, Welspun Living has got 6 buys and 5 holds, Pearl Global has got 2 buys, Gokuldas has got 5 buys and 3 holds, and Irwin Limited has got 7 buys. So no sell recommendations for all of these textile companies as to where analyst recommendation stands as per Global.
Thanks so much for that perspective, Mahima. Meanwhile, Pallab Banerjee, MD and Group President of Pearl Global Industries, offered some sharp insights that add depth to today's textile sector rally.
Too early to say, but at the same time, I think the advantages should be there. There's 11% tariff on any imported cotton. We do, certain requirements are there from, like say, from the Australia market or from US market to use their cotton. And that's where we were not competitive enough. So this 11% also I think, is a positive direction that should give that advantage. And overall, if the cotton and the fabric becomes more competitive in the global market from India, then that's an advantage.
And in a surprising twist for the quick commerce space, Zepto has partnered with the House of Abhinandan Lodha to offer select branded land plots from its Vrindavan project. Yes, you can now browse and buy real estate through your grocery delivery app. This innovative collaboration aims to simplify property investment by making curated land purchases as seamless as ordering essentials online. A bold move that blends convenience with aspiration. And we're tracking a major development on the India-China trade front. Sources reveal that Beijing is actively working to address New Delhi's concerns, particularly around fertilizers, rare earth elements and other key commodities that have strained bilateral ties. Joining us now with exclusive insights is NDTV's Mohammed Ghazali, who has been following this story closely.
Yeah, certainly a big announcement, a kind of agreement from China that they will help India in 3 key areas. 3 key concerns will be addressed, be it about the tunnel boring machines which were stuck in China because China was not exporting these materials to India, these machine parts which are assembled in China, these big heavy tunnel boring machines, due to which multiple infrastructure projects were also put on hold. And besides that, China has also agreed for the supply of fertilizer and the rare earth minerals. This is something very critical because rare earth minerals, as you know, is being used in different sectors, be it automobile sectors, be it for clean energy, be it in medical equipments as well. And besides that, fertilizer, China happens to be the largest producer and consumer for fertilizers. So at least in our agriculture sector also it will be very useful. And it perhaps shows that both countries are now working to move this entire relationship or the diplomatic relations towards a positive side, because China also started off by resuming the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. India reciprocated by allowing Chinese nationals Indian visas, and now there are talks about cross-border trade between India and China as well. And these 3 assurances from Chinese side certainly shows that obviously there is a long way to go between the 2 countries, but these are the little steps which both countries are taking to improve their relations.
And time now for an exclusive conversation. My colleague and managing editor of NDTV Profit, Tamanna Inandar, spoke exclusively with Arundhati Bhattacharya, President and CEO of Salesforce South Asia. And they spoke about AI, cloud computing and everything IT. Listen in to an excerpt of that conversation.
It doesn't matter which sector you are in. You are going to have to use AI if you want to retain your efficiency and your productivity, and if you want to do better. It might be used in a context of lack of labor in the developed market. In the markets like India, it's going to be used in the context of actually providing far better services to your very populous nation, which cannot be done in the brick and mortar manner. You are aware that, for instance, 600,000 villages, we couldn't cover them under financial inclusion till we took the help of technology in the form of Aadhaar for KYC and mobiles for its ubiquitous connectiveness. So that's what the JAM Trinity was all about. The Jandhan account, the Aadhaar for KYC, and the mobile for connectivity. When we brought into play all of these three elements, that is when we could do true financial inclusion in India.
And some breaking news coming in. And before we go on to that, just some information coming in with regards to the VP appointment. In a significant move, the India opposition bloc has nominated former Supreme Court Judge B. Sudarshan Reddy as its official candidate for the upcoming vice presidential election. The announcement was confirmed by Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge following a high-level leadership meeting earlier today. NDTV's Ashish caught up with Justice Reddy moments after the nomination was made public.
You have been nominated, so your first reaction, sir, to NDTV?
What could be the possible reaction except being happy that I have been nominated by a combination of the parties which represent more than 60% of the population of this country.
You have been chosen for this position, sir, for the contest, sir. How sure you are?
I'm least concerned about it.
You are least concerned about the victory and or the defeat.
My job is to offer my candidature, appeal to all the members of the parliament, irrespective of their political affiliations, to consider my candidature. And nobody can predict the result of any election. Therefore, I don't indulge in this soothsaying or astrology.
Any request?
That was a conversation with B. Sudarshan Reddy, the opposition's candidate for the post of Vice President. The elections are slated for September 9th. Moving on to some breaking news coming in. Big developments in India's digital regulation space. The Cabinet has now approved the online gaming bill that aims to bring sweeping changes to how online gaming is now governed. My colleague Rishabh Bhatnagar, who has been tracking this story relentlessly, now joining me live. Rishabh, we understand that under the proposed legislation, online betting will be punishable by law. Endorsements of illegal platforms could also invite penalties. But take us through a passage of this bill now, because there have been some serious concerns around addiction and fraud and, of course, inconsistent state-level laws.
Right. What we've picked up from today is the fact that the Cabinet has approved it. Now, this is another step in this bill actually becoming a law. What we're seeing is that this might be tabled in the Lok Sabha tomorrow. This is a probability. This is not for sure that that's happening tomorrow, but we are hearing that it might be introduced in the Lok Sabha tomorrow. Now, a little bit about this bill itself. This does make online betting punishable. What we're seeing is that the Ministry of Electronics and IT will be the nodal ministry for this one. They will be designated in terms of to be the central regulator of online games in India. What we're also seeing is that they do, and this bill also talks about the concerns over fraud, over addiction, some of which have been very pressing issues for the Indian youth, especially. That is what we're picking up. We're also seeing that over the years, the Indian government has really started to emphasize on regulating this sector, right? This sector had been running rampant for a really long period of time. You had online betting companies that are offshore, not even based in India, but having heavy amounts of betting coming in via these platforms. So this one really helps in regulating all these online betting platforms. What we're seeing also is that since October 2023, the GST was also raised on online gaming activities to about 28%, the highest slab then. And that is what we're seeing, is that this government is constantly focused on removing all the issues that have come up with regards to online gaming. So this is what we picked up so far. We will be tracking this story going ahead as well.
If you could just give our viewers some context, we understand that, like you rightly said, first is, of course, the offshore gaming platforms are now within the Indian tax net, ensuring, of course, that foreign operators are held accountable under domestic laws. But I think also a very crucial aspect of this is that authorities have been now granted powers to block unregistered or illegal gaming websites. And we're looking at close to the tune of 1,500 such directives that have already been issued just in the last 3 years.
Right. So far, what we saw from online gaming was state-specific orders coming in. So you had Sikkim put out an order, you had Tamil Nadu put out an order. These were states that were proactive in terms of regulating online gaming. But now you have the Ministry of Electronics and IT under the Government of India. So a central bill coming in, which will be a law very soon if it goes through the Parliament over this session. And so you have a central law coming in, which will definitely, like you said, about 1,500 blocking directives have already been issued against illegal betting, gambling, as well as gaming websites since 2022. These will now only go upwards, given the fact that MeitY will now be the central designated body for regulating online gaming in India. So in terms of regulation now, a proper umbrella regulation coming in terms of actually regulating this sector, which has been a cause of pain for a lot of people that do get addicted because of how easy it is now to place bets online, and how easy it is to lose also money through these platforms where there's very little to no accountability. Another very important factor of this gaming bill will be the endorsements and the celebrity endorsements factor. Right? You had a bunch of celebrities go out and endorse these platforms that were currently in a very unregulated space, you can say. And now they will also be held accountable if they are found endorsing such platforms for money. So that is something that will also come under control.
Absolutely, Rishabh. And Rishabh, now that you spoke about the celebrities that are already under the scanner, what happens to those probes? Because let's remember that while this bill has been very, very crucial in terms of cracking down on sweeping changes to how online gaming is governed, there is also alongside a probe that is running with all of these celebrities that have been called in for questioning at different points of time with regards to the promotion of these particular apps. Will that continue?
Right, Sanjana, there's very little clarity over what sort of process those cases will follow now. The fact that this is just at the cabinet approval stage, so we don't know when it will actually become a law and what sort of processes will be in place once this actually does become a law. So once we have more clarity on what happens to existing cases, we will update and we will report on them as and when it's possible.
Rishabh, thanks so much. Big breaking news coming in right now. These are the developments. Just to recap, the cabinet now has approved and the online gaming bill, like we said, aiming to bring these sweeping changes on how online gaming is governed. Under this legislation, what we're likely to see is that online betting will be punishable by law, and endorsements, like we just spoke about, of illegal platforms will also invite penalties. And sources also suggesting that the Ministry of Electronics and Technology, MeitY, will be designated as the central regulator tasked with overseeing compliance and enforcement. And the bill is likely to come up in the Lok Sabha and will be introduced in the Lok Sabha tomorrow, setting the stage for a crucial debate on balancing innovation with consumer protection. All eyes on that. And that's a wrap on Profit 360. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit for more news and updates.
behind some of India's most respected business empires. But you've rarely heard them speak. Now, for the first time, these leaders open up on succession, conflict, governance, and inheritance. Join me as we step inside boardrooms and living rooms of India's most enduring family businesses for real stories, raw conversation, resilient legacies, building legacy.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola? Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims?
Hello and welcome. You're watching KYC. I'm Harsh Saita. With me is Varsha Chandani, and today we're going to talk about Suven Life Sciences. The entire company largely depends on the success of a single drug, and the stock price has doubled over the last 6 months, and therefore we find it interesting to try and analyze this one. Let me start off with what I want to know, and this is going to hold the key, right? How large is the opportunity size with regard to the Alzheimer's drug they're developing, and the second piece is, where will they sell it? What are the margins on these products? What's the opportunity size like with regard to the product? Will they license it or will they partner? How exactly will this work? All of it is what we'll try to understand. The expectation is this will happen as early as calendar year 2026, and therefore the numbers will change dramatically if this one turns out to be a success. So that's the first piece. The second one, cash balances, and they've raised around 850 crore. As of now, the cash balances are minuscule as of FY25 end. But with this 856 crore or 57 crore fundraise, it should give some amount of bandwidth, some amount of comfort with regard to the investment that they continue to make in R&D, given that otherwise the business is largely zero when it comes to both profitability as well as top line. When you're looking at products, I'd also want to know what the other products might contribute if this one were to fail. So products in the pipeline, timelines, how likely of some or all of those products being successful, and how large is the size for the other products outside of the Alzheimer's drug that they're developing. How certain is profitability? They need to be profitable. Analysts want them to be. There have been questions asked around this, so I'd want to know how certain is it that they are looking at profitability. The sixth possible question that I'd want to ask them is, how was investor interest in the fundraise? Now, it was a large fundraise, and therefore to try and assess as to whether there is a possibility of more fundraising if at all the company needs it, and that will possibly be determined by the answer he gives us to this question. The last one is, how will Suven look beyond 2027? Now, there are lots of unknowns where Suven is concerned, and therefore this will be a tough question to answer standalone. But what we will ask him is under both scenarios. One, Alzheimer's becomes successful and Alzheimer's doesn't successfully come through as a product. In which case, how does Suven look in both of those cases beyond 2027? So I'd want to know a lot around some of these aspects and angles. But Varsha, as always, about the company.
Yeah. So, Harsh, this is something like a 0 to 1 game, I would say, when it comes to, Suven Life Sciences. Let's see what that company does. I'll try to simplify as much as possible. Now, a company develops molecules which are focused on CNS space. That means CNS drugs are nothing but which treat conditions affecting brain and spinal cord, and they develop novel therapies and also provides contract research and development services. So basically, in a very simple language, they make molecules which affect brain and spinal cord. Let's talk about the products, because that is what defines Suven and why investors are bullish, or why investors like this company, because of the pipeline that they have. Starting with one of the main product that this company has is SUVN 502. This is nothing but the drugs which is being developed for agitation in Alzheimer's patient. In simple language, when a person has Alzheimer's, they do have side effects, like you have irritation, you have restlessness or emotional distress. So these are nothing but the side effects when you have Alzheimer's. So to treat that side effects, this drug will be used, which is Suven 502. Now, this is currently in phase 3 global trials for Alzheimer's agitation, and now this is mainly people are talking about that this represents a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. We'll ask the management about that, and the expected completion for this is by end of FY26.
Before I go forward, or rather before you go forward, what does phase 3 mean? So say we are in phase 3, can we pull up that graphic again? Perfect. Phase 3 global trials, what does this mean, and how far are we from possible completion? How many phases to go? What do the phases which are completed mean? Give us that, give viewers that perspective.
So phase 3 is nothing but the last phase. So any drug which wants to go into the market has to go through 3 phases, which we call clinical trials. Meaning, before a drug is given to a person, that drug has to be tested. So that drug has to be tested in 3 phases, that is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 you have certain number of people to whom drugs is being tested. Then if that is positive, the drugs goes from phase 1 to phase 2. Then in phase 2 this drug has been given to certain number of people, and then if the results are positive, then it goes to phase 3. And phase 3 is the final one, wherein if the drug is positive, then all the launches, activities, marketing comes, and then the actual commercialization of the drug comes in. So
what are my options post phase 3 approval? So say phase 3 global approval comes through. What are my options? Do I license? Do I manufacture on my own? Is there a third option available?
That depends on you.
What are my options?
That depends on you.
But these are my 2 options. One is I license it for someone else to manufacture and market both.
Yes.
And second is I market it and a third party manufactures it. And then the third option is I manufacture it, I market.
Yes, that depends on the unit economics that you
But this is broadly the way in which it works.
This is broadly the way in which any pharma company works with a drug.
And is it possible that I don't get a global approval and that I get a approval for a specific geography, or is that not really heard of?
You have to get, I mean, if you are developing a drug, okay, and so the main point over here is you want to sell it to US,
right,
which is a regulated market.
Correct.
So for that you need that US FDA approval.
And therefore they have a subsidiary sitting in the US which is also doing trials.
Yes.
Just for viewer perspective, they've been pushing money there as well to ensure that trials in the US become successful, because that's the largest market which you want to cater to. But okay, that's the first product. We'll breeze through the others because this is the key one.
This is the key one, exactly. Yes. So everyone is betting on this product. And also for viewers, so Suven actually failed so it was developing a product for Alzheimer's, to treat the Alzheimer's, but they failed in trials. And then they got to know that this drug is actually positive on people dealing with the side effects of Alzheimer's. That is the agitation, which we were speaking about. And that's when they found out that let's
cure the side effects.
Let's cure the side effects,
which should hopefully aid Alzheimer's itself.
Exactly. So this is the whole story basically.
Interesting one.
Now, the next drug which they have is, let's go for Suven, SUVN G3031, which has completed phase 2 trials for chronic neurological disorder. Chronic neurological disorder is a long-term condition that affect brain, spinal cord, or your nerves throughout the body, and they are engaging for FDA phase 3 trial approval, which are expected somewhere around 25 to 26. Now, next drug which they are focusing on is SUVN T4010, that is 4010, which targets cognitive disorder. It's nothing but what is cognitive disorder? This affect person's ability to think, to learn, or memory, perception. So basically your day-to-day life get affected when it comes to cognitive disorder, and they are planning for phase 2 over there. Then next is Suven 911, which is nothing but used for major depressive disorder. In a simple language, depression, that's it. They've completed their phase 2A trial with positive results, and results are expected by 2027. So Harsha, this is what Suven does, and these are what the main products, I would say, which Suven is focusing on, considering the biggest one would be the Alzheimer's.
So let's pull up all of this as a summary. These are all the drugs which are there under development. This is broadly a summary of all of those, kind of giving you a snapshot into what's playing out and at what phase each of those drugs are in. So this gives you a quick brief snapshot. We won't get into the details of it, but this one is the key, right? This one, we've spoken about it quite a bit, so we'll quickly move on now. Therefore, now you already know a large part of what the company is about, and this is the crucial part of it. Let's therefore look at the metrics now, and as one would understand, the metrics will not be the best because a lot of these drugs are still under development and there's no sales that the company is able to demonstrate. We'll start off with the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, return ratios. We'll look at shareholding, street cred, street coverage, and we will look at outlook. So 8 parameters. Varsha, to start with the income statement.
So on the face, if you see income statement doesn't look good, you will only see losses there, starting from EBITDA. Look at the revenue, it's like deteriorating. So one of the reasons I would say why this is deteriorating is company previously had CDMO business, and the sale or demerger of this segment has actually affected the revenue for the company, and now the core business for the company is developing their novel drugs, which we just saw, which has a very long gestation period. Single drug will require, when you make your own drug, you have to go through the phase 3 trials, and then that requires a lots of times 4-5 years, and that's one of the reason why this doesn't look good. Even the company has high R&D expenditure, which drags the profitability, and one of the reasons why you're seeing losses for this company. So overall, because of no CDMO in the revenue and high R&D expenditure and long gestation period of the novel products that they are going into is one of the reasons why the income statement doesn't look good.
Okay, but a clear thumbs down on the back of that. Let's look at the balance sheet, and the balance sheet has equity, or used to have a very large quantum of equity in comparison to where it is right now, because you are booking all of those losses. But the good part is there is very low to no borrowing on the balance sheet. Also, they've done a fundraise in May of 2025, which through which they've raised around 857 crore rupees of equity, which basically again takes care of what is the cash required for all the R&D they're doing. So again, it gives you the ability to continue to make losses at a period when you're still developing your business, which is again a key positive. So we've given this a neutral because one, they have the ability to raise money. Two, you don't have any borrowing on the balance sheet, and typically if you don't have any borrowing on the balance sheet, you can't call the balance sheet bad, and therefore we've given this a neutral. Let's talk about cash flow, Varsha.
Yeah, so Harsh, considering the overall financial that this company has, the cash flow doesn't look bad.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why we've given neutral rating, because if you see, company has been receiving money in 2023 also. Company had received money, and that is the reason. If you see, the net cash flow, in 2023 was what, 32 crores positive. In 2024 it is negative 22 crore. In 25 it is zero. So company has been receiving money to survive, and considering the size of the company, considering the financial losses that the company has seen, the cash flow doesn't look bad. So that's the reason why we've given over here the neutral rating to the cash flow statement.
Perfect. I'll quickly cover return ratios and shareholding. Return ratios are negative, and therefore we've given it a thumbs down. No questions asked, unfortunately loss making, and therefore that's what you're seeing. What you're looking at in terms of shareholding pattern as well, nearly 67% of the shares outstanding share capital is held by promoters, so it's well held. Also, you have some interesting names cropping up on the DII side, which is the domestic institutional investors. You have Quant, Abacus, which hold 2% and 1.5% each, and therefore that part of the metrics looks very, very interesting, where you have good, decent investors who have come in, vindicating the way in which they look at the company. Second, you have a very large promoter holding, nearly 67.5%, which also kind of vindicates everything with regard to the company. It's a 5,000 crore market cap company now, after the stock has doubled in the last 3 months. So something, or rather the last 6 months. So that's something you want to know. But Varsha, the next metric.
Yeah, so I would take street cred and outlook for the company. The street cred, if you see, as Harsh was mentioning, in the last 1 month, there is a negative returns to the investors of 20%, but last 6 months, yes, almost 100%, the money has been doubled. But what is interesting when it comes to Suven is outlook. Not the present condition, but outlook. So one is the Alzheimer's drug, which we were speaking about, creates $1 million opportunity for the company if that goes successful. And of all the products that we have seen, even if one product goes into licensing, or if even one product goes successful, Suven could change tables for itself. So also, if you see, maybe a company may need more capital for multiple clinical trials over the next 2 years. And very interesting part, Harsh. So if you see, for Walk Hard, Zenich was the lead drug, right? For Glenmark, if you see ISB 2001, which we just had a discussion about, that was the lead drug. Maybe for Suven, that agitation and Alzheimer's drug maybe would turn tables for itself. You don't know.
Yeah, we'll quiz the management on that, but that's basically with regard to the outlook. We've given that, of course, a neutral, because it's tough to know which side of the fence to sit on. Street coverage, there's absolutely no street coverage, therefore we've been forced to give this a thumbs down. Let's quickly add up all of the metrics and give it a rating, which we always do on KYC. Of course, keep in mind that it's a 0 to 1 game, which Varsha keeps speaking about, but that's how all of the metrics stack up. And of course, it's a very risky 3.5 on 8 that we have given on our KYC final rating. Let's bring on board Mr. Venkateswarlu Jasti, who is the Chairman and Managing Director at Suven Life Sciences, joining us. Great having you, Mr. Jasti. Good morning. This is Harsh. So let me start off by first understanding from you, what is the likelihood of the phase 3 trial getting successfully completed for an SUVN 502? Give us your take, give us your perspective from the horse's mouth.
Hey, you have to take it with a grain of salt, whatever we say here.
Of course.
Drug discovery, as she was telling, it's a binary outcome. There is no percentage of success or anything like that. And it's a long drawn process. Each drug takes 10 to 15 years before you see whether it is going forward or not going at all. In this case, when you're asking me whether you're going to be successful, I'm not sure, because we thought 502 when we did for the Alzheimer's, because this was a double-blind study based on the DSMB, drug safety monitoring based data, no questions asked for 4 years. but at the same time, when you got the result, it was not statistically significant. Similarly, here we see the data based on the post-facto analysis of the same clinical trial, and we see very good outlook for that. And based on that, we went to the US FDA, asked for direct phase 3 study for the agitation and aggression in Alzheimer's. Usually we had to do again a phase 2, but based on the safety aspects, they have given, and now it's running. So we are very hopeful of that, but doesn't mean a thing until the check is in the bank. So you have to take, as I said, it is zero as of now, but everything will be known only in 2027.
If I can ask you a follow-up, everything will be known in 2027. Are you talking about calendar year, financial year? Give us that timeline. Calendar year 2027. So we're still 2 years away from any type of recognition in terms of top line.
Any type of success to start with.
Sure.
Only success will give you the any kind of money. Sure. Otherwise, nothing.
Sure. And how large is the opportunity, sir? While I have you still with me, and then I hand it over to Varsha.
This is a new indication. There are no real NCEs that were tried for this. Only one NCE which was used for some other thing has been used, and it can be a multi-billion dollars according to street estimates, but we don't know. But it's a new indication, and not only for Alzheimer type dementia, this agitation also occurs in other dementias. So based on that, it has a huge potential, but only time will tell. First, we need to move to that approval level. That's what our intention is.
Right. Hi, Mr. Justy. Varsha this side. Pleasure to have you on NDTV Profit. Mr. Justy, the recent, 857 crore fundraising which you have done was a significant event. Now, wanted to know what are the specific milestones that you have tied up, and any more funding is being required considering the huge pipeline, that you have.
As you know, this is the first time an Indian company sitting in India doing drug discovery alone, nothing, no revenue base. Street has put in about $50 million. And myself has put in $50 million. Out of the $100 million, $50 million comes from the family and $50 million from the street. We have not given any kind of things. If you have seen my annual report, it clearly tells you what exactly it is. We are saying it will be only during that time that can happen when the 2027, not only this molecule, but other molecules are also coming up at the same time, like 3031 and 911. The results also will be during the calendar year 2027.
Varsha, he's obviously non-committal with regard to that key drug that we are talking about. He was also non-committal on the size of the opportunity, which was a bit off for me, because it's a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. That's a known fact. But how much of that does Suven likely capture?
Lots of uncertainty, I would say. Lots and lots of uncertainty.
Mr. Justy, just wanting to understand, Varsha and myself, what was the kind of investor interest that you saw? Of course, you've got some marquee investors who've come in, but how large was the investor interest is what we're trying to understand.
I mean, I think we have to propagate that something has to be funded, the investments into the drug discovery. We cannot be depending on the global outlook and all that stuff, getting drugs from outside. Only that kind of a mindset they have put it in. I think those people who have put in about 23 people, including funds, they're all looking at kind of a new way of looking at innovation. Otherwise, there is not much interest, to be honest with you. So we have to propagate that. And the second thing is,